Chapter 5989 Return to the 10 Directions Academy. Ding Wenru was speechless. After a while she said, "Qingqing, you can put your modesty aside. The Northern UUM is not here for the time being. When you return to the academy there will be rumors. You have to be mentally prepared." Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. Mentally prepared for what? Those people didn't dare to go too far in the past. They were more or less afraid of Beiyu. Now that Beiyu is not here, those people will definitely become even worse, Ding Wenru said worriedly. As expected, women in love are all fools. Now that we have 2 indestructible backers, what are we afraid of? The 10 Directions Academy can do whatever they want. Whoever dares to provoke us will die. Yun Chujio said smugly. "Qingqing, I know you are talking about the 2 Supreme Elders, but can they help us? Can you really learn the things on the sheepskin scroll in a month? Moreover, even if you can learn it, there is still a month. Don't worry. Even if those 2 old men are not our master now, I still have a way to make them vent their anger on our behalf. You just wait and see." Hei Shinjio smiled sinisterly like a wolf with a big tail. Although she had already complained about it previously, as time passed, it was inevitable that the anger of the 2 old men would subside. If there was a chance, she would fan them again and light up the fire. The next day, the people from the 10 Directions Academy left the City of Miracle for their return journey. Because they had lost the 100-year competition, everyone was not in a good mood. Because of Beiye's disappearance, Hei Shinjio also pretended to be sad and occasionally wiped her tears. Ding Wenru's admiration in her heart was like a torrential river. She was impressed by her acting skills. Other than Xiao Lianxiao and Jian Zhuyu, the others treated Yun Chujio much better. After all, the scene where Yun Chujio fought with her life for the honor of the academy was too touching. Xiao Lianxiao was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Originally, she was ranked 2nd in the alchemy competition and surpassed Jian Zhuyu, but the limelight was stolen by that trash Yan Qingqing. How hateful. But it didn't matter. These people were really few in number. The others in the academy would definitely not be so stupid. Now that Beiyu was dead, no one would protect this trash anymore. They would deal with her when they returned to the academy. Jian Zhuyu was not in a good mood either. Xiao Lianxiao, this idiot, was nothing to be afraid of, but Yan Qingqing had won the hearts of many people this time. She had to think of a way. She thought for a moment, took out a voice transmission talisman and said a few words. Her eyes flashed with a calculating light. 2 days later, Yun Chujio received a voice transmission talisman from Jiang Hong of the Talisman Seal Division. She had not made a sound after subduing Yin Zhang and Jiang Hong at the 6 Harmonies Waterside Pavilion. Others did not know that they were her people. Yun Chujio did not make things difficult for the 2 of them. She just asked them to keep an eye out for some movements. Her performance was not bad. Thinking of the news that the 2 of them had sent over, the corners of Yun Chujio's mouth curled up. She had originally been worried about how to fan the flames, but now she had someone to help her. The journey was very smooth. A few days later, everyone returned to the upper house. President Gu was not in the mood to say anything. When they reached the upper house, he dismissed everyone. Ding Wenru supported Hei Shinjio, who was still staggering, as they walked towards the Primal Institution. The 2 of them had just reached the entrance of the Primal Institution when they were stopped by someone. The people who stopped them were more than a dozen people from the Talisman Seal branch. The person in the lead was called Jian Chenjin, the cousin of Jian Chenmu, who had been burned to death by Yun Chujio. After Jian Chenmu's death, his lackeys had all followed Jian Chenjin. Chapter 5990 was going too far. Jian Chenjin looked at Yun Chujio with a gloating expression. "Yan Qingqing, I heard that Beiyu died? TSK, now that you don't have a backer, let's see how arrogant you are." Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered with such an idiot. Just as she was about to push the door open and enter, she heard Jian Chenjin say proudly, "Oh right, didn't a few of our Talisman Seal and Alchemy branches disappear? In order to prevent your prehistoric branch from having an array formation underground, we helped you to search for it out of kindness. After rummaging through it, we finally confirmed that there was no array formation down there. Shouldn't you give us some hard-earned money?" Ding Wenru suddenly had an ominous premonition in her heart. "What did you say? You rummaged through our courtyard? What right do you have to enter our primeval branch without permission? How can it be called without permission? We asked the 3 chancellors who stayed behind and the other 3 vice-chancellors to enter after obtaining permission. Moreover, in doing this for your own good. If you were accidentally teleported to the secret realm, you would be shocked even if nothing happened, right?" "Yes," Jian Chenjin said proudly. He didn't have the courage to do this at first, but when he thought of the benefits that Jian Zhuyu promised, plus he felt that Yun Chujio and Ding Wenru didn't have any backers, he dared to do this. Ding Wenru's face was livid with anger. You guys have gone too far. Qingqing, let's go in and take a look. After Ding Wenru finished speaking, she helped Yun Chujio walk to the front door of the primal institution. The front door of the primal institution had been splashed with a lot of dog blood. Some had dried up after a long time, and some had obviously just been splashed for a short time. Ding Wenru could not care less and pushed open the door. The inside of the prehistoric institution was in a mess. The stone tables and chairs on the ground were smashed into pieces, and the ground was dug into a mess. The windows and doors of the houses were torn down, and the furnishings inside were also smashed into pieces. Ding Wenru was so angry that she was trembling. You guys are too much. You obviously did it on purpose. I'll go to the dean and seek justice now. Then go and look for him. We have good intentions. Jian Qingjin had an unbridled look on his face. The people from the 6 branches did not like these two good-for-nothings. Otherwise, they would not have been ignored when they caused such a ruckus in the primal region, so no one would care about them now. Moreover, Beiyu was already dead and Nangong Shi was injured. No one would help these two good-for-nothings. Ding Wenru was so angry that she started cursing, but Yun Chujio remained silent with a dejected expression. Jian Qingjin curled his lips. Forget it, look at how poor you are. You won't be able to pay for your hard work. Let's go. Qingqing, let's go. They'll support you. Let's go find President Gu and seek justice. Ding Wenru was both angry and resentful. These people were really going too far. It was one thing for them to mess around outside the courtyard gate, but now they had actually ruined their courtyard and house to such an extent. This was too much. Yun Chujio's dejected face revealed a trace of a smile. Sister Ding, why do you think some people are so persistent in seeking death? Ding Wenru was frightened by the sinister smile on her face. What? What do you mean? It's nothing. We are not going to look for President Gu. We are going to look for the chancellors of the 6 branches. I believe they will uphold justice for us, Yun Chujio said faintly. Qingqing Jian Qingjin is from the Talisman Seal branch. We can just look for Director Zhao from the Talisman Seal branch. Why do we have to look for the other 5 chancellors? Ding Wenru asked in confusion. Chapter 5991 Patience. Didn't Jian Qingjin say that the 5 branches had also agreed? Since that's the case, it's naturally not good to discriminate. Let's all go and ask. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Since it was a slap in the face, of course it was better to be neat and tidy. Not a single one could be missing. Although Ding Wenru did not understand, she had always followed Yun Chujio's lead. Thus, she helped Yun Chujio to the 6 branches one after another. As expected of Yun Chujio's accident, she was satisfied with the result. After hearing what had happened, Director Zhao of the Talisman Seal branch only lightly reprimanded Jian Qingjin. He asked Jian Qingjin to be in charge of restoring the prehistoric branch to its original state, and also verbally apologized to Yun Chujio and Ding Wenru. The other 5 chancellors were even more arrogant. Although Jian Qingjin had indeed communicated with the 5 faculties about this matter, they didn't know that they would take the opportunity to cause trouble. Besides, they weren't the ones who had done it, so what did it have to do with them? Qingqing, let's go find President Gu to uphold justice. It's too much of a bully. Ding Wenru said angrily. Yun Chujio shook her head. President Gu has a lot of things to attend to every day. Let's not trouble him. Let's go back to the prehistoric faculty. Qingqing, what do you want to do? Ding Wenru looked suspicious. This guy in front of her had always been vengeful. Why did he have to swallow his anger today? It was really abnormal. Yun Chujio smiled enigmatically. Then she looked like she could not afford to live anymore. She sighed and said, It's our fault that no one cares about us. It's better to avoid trouble. Let's go. Ding Wenru didn't know what this guy was up to, so she could only follow her back to the prehistoric branch. Although Director Zhao ordered Jian Qingjin to restore the prehistoric branch to its original state, it was clear that he didn't intend to do so. The prehistoric branch was still in a mess. Yun Chujio finally found a flat place, took out 2 chairs and let Ding Wenru sit down. Then she said, If we go to President Gu and complain, President Gu will be suppressed by the 6 chancellors. It will only be a small matter. Won't it be too easy for them? Besides, Jian Qingjin made such a scene. It is most likely the idea of that bitch Jian Zhuyu. She can't wait for me to make a big scene. In this way, the image of a good student that I made with great difficulty will become a troublemaker again. So we should just endure it? Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Endure? That's right, we can only endure it for the time being. However, the time for us to turn things around will come very soon. The harder we endure now, the happier we will be in the future. She was better than anyone at scheming in her heart. This matter was not a small matter, but President Gu did not do anything for a long time. It was obvious that he was also trying to borrow her power. With her understanding of the two old men's temperaments, she would definitely come over to investigate secretly in the next 2 days. When she saw how miserable the primal institution was and how their only disciple was so aggrieved, it would be very interesting. Ding Wenru pondered for a while and finally guessed something. Her face immediately revealed some anticipation. Qingqing, are you talking about those two? Yun Chujio nodded. Well, set up a tent here for the next 2 days and won't go to class. We can't let anyone destroy such precious evidence. Ding Wenru thought of the possibility of what was about to happen and instantly felt as if she had been injected with stimulants. Qingqing, don't worry, I understand. She was even more impressed with Yun Chujio in her heart. She had too many things to learn from Qingqing. Since she wanted revenge, she had to be ruthless. If it didn't hurt, she would just wait for the right time. Therefore, the two of them set up 2 tents in the corner of the courtyard, waiting for the arrival of their powerful backer. Chapter 5992. My heart is filled with bitterness after Jian Zhuyu heard Jian Chenjin's report. She frowned. Yan Qingqing actually did not make a fuss? How was this possible? But it was also true. Beiyu was already dead, so that little slut naturally did not have the guts to make a fuss. From the attitude of the 6 chancellors, although their attitude towards Yan Qingqing had slightly improved, it was clear that they still did not like it. She only needed to find another opportunity to get rid of that slut and relieve the hatred in her heart. Very quickly, 3 days passed. During these 3 days, Yun Chujio and Ding Wenru were shut in. The people outside could still hear Yun Chujio's mournful cries from time to time. Some people gloated over her misfortune, while others felt sympathy for her. However, they all cleared their own problems and no one came over to pay attention to them. Nangong Shi and Jiang Shuangli wanted to come over, but they were both rejected by Yun Chujio on the grounds that she was in pain. Qingqing, it's been 3 days. Can those two really come? Why don't we move into the house? It's really uncomfortable to live in a tent. Don't worry, those 2 old men will definitely come. Just treat it as if we're training. Ding Wenru saw that Yun Chujio was so confident, so she did not say anything. Anyway, Qingqing had never miscalculated. She just needed to be obedient. She firmly remembered one thing: Qingqing was always right. That night, the 2 old men sneakily left the back of the mountain in the dark. It was Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu. Because the 2 of them had other matters to attend to, they returned a few days later than everyone else. They had originally arrived at the upper house during the day, but the 2 of them felt that they would lose face if they came running here, so they came over in the middle of the night. Although Yun Chujio had shown them the shadow stone, the 2 of them still did not quite believe that the primal institution had really been bullied to such an extent, so they decided to come and take a look. During the past few days, when Yun Chujio slept, she would release the Gowei Batsao to keep an eye on the movements outside. In order to avoid any unnecessary trouble, Yun Chujio made it swear a poison oath to its stone parents before releasing it. Gowei Batsao was originally unwilling to swear a poison oath, but for the sake of a short period of freedom, it had no choice but to admit defeat. This fellow wished that Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu would not come over so that it could continue to stroll at night. Although it could not stroll to its heart's content, it was still better than staying in the Dantian to face those 2 idiots. Gowei Batsao saw Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu coming over, so she quickly dispersed herself and shook her leaves to wake Yun Chujio up. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately lit up. My own master has finally come. The time for revenge has finally come. This guy jumped into Ding Wenru's tent, covered her mouth and then gave her a look. Although Ding Wenru was a little confused, her long-standing tacit understanding allowed her to instantly understand Yun Chujio's gaze. Seeing her nod, Yun Chujio let go of her hand and sighed, "Woo-woo, Sister Ding, I miss our master. If they were here, they definitely wouldn't let us be bullied like this. Qingqing, don't cry anymore. When you cry, my heart will also feel terrible. Your injuries haven't fully recovered yet. If you keep crying these few days, your body won't be able to take it," Ding Wenru advised with a sobbing tone. When Yun Chujio heard this, she cried even more sorrowfully, "Sob, sob, 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 Sister Ding, my heart is bitter. Brother Bei, yes, life and death are unknown now, and we are being bullied by the other branches. If it wasn't for the sake of protecting our master's face, I really want to fight it out with them." Chapter 5993. Anger. Ding Wenru looked at He Xinjiu, whose face was covered in tears, and suddenly felt that her acting skills needed to be improved. She pinched herself hard and said with a choked voice, "Qingqing, when will we be the leader in such a day? At least they still have the plaque of the primal institution. I'm afraid that the primal institution will cease to exist if we continue. If that really happens, I will protect the tablet of our prehistoric branch with my life. As long as I'm still alive, I won't let them have their way. This time, if it weren't for the fact that my injuries haven't recovered and I'm afraid that I'll lose Master's face by being defeated by them, I would have sought justice no matter what. Yun Chujio gnashed her teeth and said, I don't know where Master and the others went. If they were here, they definitely wouldn't let us be bullied. Ding Wenru said. Yun Chujio sighed, Sister Ding, even if Master came back, I don't think he would really do anything to them. At most, he would just scold them. Impossible. Our Primal Academy has been bullied so badly. How could Master let them go so easily? Ding Wenru said disapprovingly. Yun Chujio sighed again. Alas, there is a saying that a county official is better off being in charge now. Although Master and the others have high seniority, they haven't shown their faces for so many years. The real power is in the hands of the 6 chancellors. Even President Gu has to be controlled by them. Master and the others are just empty airs. They may not dare to fall out with them. Therefore, no matter how angry Master and the others are, they will probably hold them high and let them go lightly. After all, the 10 Directions Academy still needs the support of the 6 chancellors. Bullshit. Nonsense. How can we be afraid of those little bastards? Open the door. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had heard their conversation clearly outside. They were not too angry when they heard that the 2 of them were being bullied, but when they heard Yun Chujio's last words, they were about to explode with anger. Yun Chujio and Ding Wenru looked at each other, and the 2 of them quickly got up and opened the courtyard door. Am I dreaming? Master, is it really you? Sob, you're finally back. We've been bullied so badly that we can't even live anymore. Hey, Shinjio said sobbingly. Ding Wenru, who was at the side, was crying silently. Her arm was about to swell from the pinching. It really hurt. Chu Feng saw the mess in the courtyard under the moonlight and was furious. Who did this? What exactly happened? Master Jian Shinjin from the Talisman Script branch brought people to do this. However, the 6 chancellors all know about this. I went to them to seek. In the end, he only lightly asked Jian Shinjin to restore the place to its original state and verbally apologized. In the end, he didn't do anything at all. Master, I've let you guys down. I didn't protect the foundation of our Primal Academy. This is no different from someone digging up the ancestral grave. Sabasobi. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were so angry that their hair almost exploded. This was too much. Looking at the small courtyard of the Primal Academy and the drama on the gate, Chu Feng immediately roared, Good, very good. These bastards are itching for a beating. Today I must teach them a good lesson. Chu Feng immediately took out President Gus' voice transmission talisman. Get everyone to scram to the prehistoric institution immediately. If anyone isn't here within an hour, get the hell out of the 10 Directions Academy. After Chu Feng finished speaking, he blasted the walls on both sides into powder with a few palms. Firstly, it was to vent his anger. Secondly, this place was too small. There was no place for people to stand. Chapter 5994 was a good death. After receiving the voice transmission talisman, President Gu, who was sleeping soundly, thought for a moment and understood what was going on. His eyes flashed. He had deliberately ignored Jian Chenjin's matter earlier because he had been waiting for this moment. As the president, he was also a coward. There were many things that he could not make the decision on. In fact, the shadow guards had even been replaced by someone else. It was a good opportunity to take advantage of this opportunity to consolidate his power. He didn't dare to be negligent, so he quickly passed on the news and then went to the prehistoric branch. At this moment, He Xinjiu was persuading Chu Feng. Master, don't punish us too severely later. It's almost enough. You 2 haven't shown up for many years and no one knows you. Therefore, they might not recognize your identities. After all, not everyone is as respectful as President Gu in U.S., Yun Chujio said with some anxiety. Humph? Don't recognize them? If they dare to talk nonsense, I'll slap them to death. Chu Feng said in a bad mood. Master, I think it's better to forget about it. After all, there are only 4 people in our primal institution. If we really offend those people, we won't be able to take advantage of them. You little trash. You coward. What are you afraid of? If they dare to make a move, I'll let them know what it means to respect your master. Chu Feng roared with red eyes. There was really no tiger in the mountain, a monkey was the overlord, and a few little rascals still wanted to rebel? They really deserved a beating. He Xinjiu felt that it was enough, so she did not speak anymore. Anyway, there would be plenty of opportunities to fan the flames later. She had always been a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Today she would definitely let them peel off a layer of their skin. At this moment, President Gu arrived. Although he had also heard that the Primeval Academy had been badly damaged, the scene before his eyes was even more serious than he had expected. He immediately lit a candle for the 6 chancellors. Chu Feng was still in a rage. When he saw President Gu, he immediately reached out his hand and was about to slap him away. He Xingjiu quickly said, "Master, this matter has nothing to do with President Gu. He hasn't been well recently and some things are beyond his control, so we didn't report this matter." President Gu looked at Yun Chujio gratefully and quickly said with a face full of shame, "Seniors, this is my negligence. Although I have heard a little about this matter, I didn't expect the situation to be so serious. In addition, I haven't been feeling well recently, so I didn't come to check it out personally. Please punish me." "Master, please don't punish the headmaster. If it weren't for him taking care of us, I'm afraid we would have been kicked out of the upper house long ago." He Xingjiu pleaded on the side. Chu Feng snorted, "Look at you. I don't think you have the guts to bully them. Get lost." President Gu wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He knew that he had passed this hurdle, so he was very grateful to He Xingjiu who had pleaded on his behalf. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Master, as the saying goes, hearing is false, seeing is believing. Why don't you two take a seat in the room and let the president handle this matter?" Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu looked at each other, then Chu Feng said to President Gu, "All right, let's do as the little trash says. You handle this matter." President Gu nodded his head in agreement and began to make plans in his heart. After a while, more lecturers and students arrived one after another, but the 6 chancellors were still late. President Gu sneered in his heart. Usually when he called for a meeting, these people would always be late on purpose. This time, as expected, they still didn't come in time. They really did a good job. Chapter 5995 was making a mountain out of a molehill. The lecturers and students who had already arrived looked puzzled and curious. Why had they been summoned here in the middle of the night? Why didn't they go to the square but instead came to the Primal Institution? Also, why were the 2 walls of the Primal Institution gone? Yun Chujio felt that it was necessary to give the 6 chancellors some eye drops. Taking the opportunity to enter the house to retrieve something, this fellow muttered to himself, "This half an hour has already passed. How to become a chancellor? They still haven't come. Could be to sleep too dead?" Chu Feng was already furious, hearing Yun Chujio's words. How could he not be angry? In the heart of the President Ren and others more dissatisfied, hate to see people directly after the slap to death. The 6 chancellors did not go too far. After a while the 6 came together. They were also puzzled. Why did President Gu call them here in the middle of the night? Could it be because of Jian Chenjin's matter? It had been a few days. Why did they only pursue it now? Even if it was this matter, it shouldn't be so troublesome in the middle of the night, right? Or did something happen in the Primal Institution? Did the houses also disappear? Could it be that the person surnamed Gu was deliberately torturing them? This was really outrageous. The 6 of them were displeased, so after entering the Primal Chaos branch, their faces didn't look so good. "Dean, why did you summon us here in the middle of the night?" Dean Ren of the Alchemy branch asked in a bad mood. "A few days ago my health wasn't good, so I didn't ask about the Primal Chaos branch. However, Yan Qingqing and Ding Wenru asked me to uphold justice tonight, so I had no choice but to gather everyone here. The prehistoric branch is one of the branches of the upper house. Although there are only 2 students, Yan Qingqing and Ding Wenru, we should treat them equally and not discriminate." Before President Gu could finish his words, President Zhao of the Talisman Seal branch impatiently said, "President, I have already taken care of this matter. Is there a need to drag everyone here in the middle of the night? Aren't you making a mountain out of a molehill? Yan Qingqing and you. Your performance in the 100-year grand competition originally made me change my opinion of you. I didn't expect you to make such a scene again. It was really disappointing." Yun Chujio immediately said with grievance, "Director Zhao, I didn't want to make a scene. It's mainly because you asked Jian Shinjin to repair the courtyard but he didn't do it. Also you asked him to apologize to me but he didn't show up. How did this become my fault?" Director Zhao immediately choked and said impatiently, "The upper academy has a lot of handymen. You can just find someone to repair it. Is there a need to make a big fuss over nothing? Moreover, Jian Chenjin's intentions were good. He was afraid that there was an array formation under your primal sub-academy. It's fine if you don't appreciate it but you actually bite back. You're really insensible." Yun Chujio immediately said with a sobbing voice, "Director Zhao, you are well informed. Can you really not tell whether Jian Shinjin has good intentions or evil intentions?" Poor Ding Wenru and I have been bullied ever since we entered the upper house. Our territory has been taken by you, and the good stuff has been taken by you. No one can make a decision for us, so we can only endure it. But now you are still so aggressive. You are not giving us a way out. Are you only satisfied with the complete disappearance of our prehistoric branch? You are really too much. President Gu coughed and said with some dissatisfaction, President Zhao, some things should not be done too much. Man, bring Jian Qingjin here. I want to interrogate him again. I don't agree, Director Zhao said unhappily. Chapter 5996. Director Zhao didn't really want to protect Jian Qingjin, but he felt that President Gu was giving him face by doing so. Moreover, Yan Qingqing, this troublemaker, had previously hung up signs all over the Talisman Seal Division and even talked about the fact that their Talisman Seal Division occupied land. It was only right for her to learn a lesson. To be honest, whether it was Director Zhao or the other 5 chancellors, they couldn't fall in love with Yun Chuzhou. The existence of her and Ding Wenru was a reminder that they had taken advantage of the prehistoric division. In addition, they knew that they wanted to limit President Gu's power, so they naturally wouldn't obediently comply. Director Zhao gave the other directors a look. Director Ren and the others understood and agreed, "That's right, Director, don't bother in the middle of the night. Just ask Jian Qingjin to come over and apologize. Tomorrow, get someone to repair this courtyard." "That's right. It's not a big deal. Is there a need to make such a big fuss?" President Gu saw them jumping up and down. He looked very ugly on the surface, but in his heart, he was overjoyed. He couldn't wait for them to be as arrogant as possible. In the room, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were fuming with anger. It seemed that these little brats had indeed bullied those 2 little wastes many times. Moreover, they couldn't wait for the prehistoric branch to disappear. The 2 of them couldn't take it anymore and walked out of the room. Director Zhao and the others looked at the 2 of them suspiciously. They were puzzled. Who were these 2 old men? How come they had never seen them before? President Gu saw that the 2 of them were livid, and he knew what was going on. He quickly went forward to greet them. "Seniors? Scram to the side, you useless things." Chu Feng slapped President Gu to the side and then he slapped Director Zhao's face. Director Zhao naturally wouldn't be so stupid as to be slapped in the face. However, his body was suddenly intimidated by the huge pressure and he actually didn't dodge. He really took a slap. Chu Feng wasn't able to vent his anger and slapped him again. Then he kicked him more than 100 feet away and landed heavily on the door. He was covered in dog blood. Zhuang Mu didn't stay idle either. He carried Director Ren like he was carrying a little chick. After a slap, he also landed on the door. The other 4 received slightly better treatment. They were not slapped and were sent flying with a kick. President Gu shrunk his neck. It seemed that these 2 people treated him quite well. Although they scolded him a lot, at least they did not fight, right? Director Zhao and the other 3 were completely stunned by the beating. Firstly, they did not know why they were beaten. Secondly, they did not know the identity of these 2 elders. Thirdly, they were not so useless. How could they be beaten so miserably? Yun Chuzhou watched from the side and felt relieved. However, she felt that it was a little too light. Therefore, she shouted worriedly, "Master, master, please don't do anything. If you anger them, the consequences will be unimaginable." Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu originally wanted to stop. After all, these 6 brats were the chancellor of the branch school, so they could not be too ruthless. However, when they heard He Xinjia's words, they immediately became furious. Bang! Bang! They kicked each other again, almost knocking the 6 people unconscious. "Master, master, it's almost enough. After all, the plaque of our primeval branch school is still there. They aren't too ruthless," He Xinjia advised kindly. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were even more furious. Yes, the plaque was still there. Fuck, there was only 1 plaque left. Just as the little girl had said, this was almost the same as digging up the ancestors' graves. If they did not beat them up, they would be letting down the ancestors of the primeval sub-academy. Chapter 5997, The Soft-Hearted and Kind He Xinjia. Therefore, the people of the 10 Directions Academy watched helplessly as the usually unreachable 6 chancellors were beaten up miserably. The most surprising thing was that they didn't even have the strength to fight back. Was it because the 2 old men were too powerful, or was it because of other reasons? Director Zhao and the others were in pain, fear, anger, and shock. What on earth was going on? He Xinjia felt that it was about time, so she tried to persuade them. "Masters, they are, after all, the directors of the branch school. It's better to leave them some face. Stop beating them." Chu Feng kicked Director Zhao again and said to Yun Chuzhou, "You little trash are too soft-hearted and kind-hearted. You've been bullied to the head and you're still pleading on their behalf. Ding Wenru, who was at the side, he, soft-hearted and kind-hearted. You must have misunderstood these two words. Only then did Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu stop. He Xinjiu quickly took out 2 chairs from her storage ring and invited the 2 of them to sit down. She even specially took out a tea table and placed tea and pastries on it. Chu Feng looked at He Xinjiu, who was so obedient, and then looked at Director Zhao and the others who were on the ground with bruises and bruises. He became more and more displeased with them. President Gu felt very comfortable in his heart. Well done. Well done. However, his face was full of fear and trepidation. He said to Director Zhao and the others, "These are the 2 grand elders of our 10 Directions Academy. This is Elder Zhuang Mu, Elder Zhuang, and this is Elder Chu Feng. They retired from the world 1,000 years ago and have been cultivating in the back mountain, guarding our 10 Directions Academy." Oh right, Elder Zhuang was originally the Chancellor of the Prehistoric Branch while Elder Chu was the Deputy Chancellor of the Prehistoric Branch. Director Zhao and the others suddenly felt as if the world was spinning. What was that? There were 2 old demons in the Prehistoric Branch? It's over, it's over. If they had known that the people of the Prehistoric Branch were not all dead, they would not have done this. No wonder they did not even have the strength to fight back. The cultivation of these 2 old demons naturally crushed them. At this time Yun Chujio sighed at the side. "Master, I knew that you guys wouldn't come out. If you came out suddenly you wouldn't be recognized. Otherwise, why didn't they greet you too?" Director Zhao and the others almost vomited blood. They were clearly too shocked, okay? They hadn't even had the time to greet them. Hearing He Xinjiu's words, Chu Feng immediately threw the teacup in his hand at Director Zhao. "You little brats, are you trying to rebel?" Director Zhao and the others quickly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. They had no choice. The dire situation of the Primal Academy was right there. It was useless even if they wanted to quibble. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu saw that Director Zhao and the others were still tactful, and their anger finally subsided a little. Director Zhao, who had been beaten the most, quickly said, "Elders, I was wrong. I will punish the culprits and expel them from the 10 Directions Academy." Jian Qinjin and his lackeys in the crowd were so scared that they fell to the ground. It was over. If they had known this would happen, they would not have come to the prehistoric institution to cause trouble. They had thought that the prehistoric institution was a soft persimmon, but it turned out to be iron thorn. And it was the poisonous kind. The others also apologized and said that they had neglected their duty. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were not so angry after beating them up. When they were about to ask them to stand up, He Xinjiu kindly pleaded for mercy. "Masters, since the 6 chancellors have realized their mistake, let's just forget about it. As the saying goes, knowing one's mistake can improve one's life. After all, the daily operations of the upper house cannot be done without them. If the punishment is too severe, I'm afraid that the upper house will be in a mess." Chapter 5998, I'm really too miserable. After hearing the first 2 sentences, Director Zhao and the others were still in tears of gratitude towards Yun Chujio. After hearing the last sentence, they were so angry that they almost fainted. How was she pleading for mercy? She was clearly fanning the flames. As expected, Chu Feng's expression turned gloomy again. "It seems that the power in your hands is really too great, so you're just drifting away. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. From today onwards, other than daily affairs, all other powers will be handed over to President Gu." Chu Feng originally wanted to say Little Gu, but after thinking about it, it was better to leave him some face in front of the students, so he changed his words. President Gu was so moved that he almost cried. After so many years, this was the first time that Little Gu had become President Gu. His longtime wife had finally become a mother-in-law. When he thought that the power of the 6 branches would be handed over to him, he was even happier. Director Zhao and the others naturally did not want to be divided, but when they thought that they had no power to fight back and did not dare to resist, they could only grit their teeth and nod in agreement. Just when they thought that the matter had finally come to an end, He Xinjiu said again, 6 directors, shouldn't the territory and things that you borrowed be returned to the original owner?" Director Zhao and the others wished that they could sew her mouth shut. This troublemaker was really too wicked. Director Zhao and the others did not have the guts to lie, but they were unwilling to return the territories and things, so they began to beg for mercy one by one. "Elders, we have no choice. There are more and more students, so we don't have enough space, so we borrowed a few courtyards of the prehistoric branch. Yes, we are also considering the overall situation of the academy. We can't be so idle and have no place to teach in other branches, right? We have also used those things in teaching, and it is also to improve the students' grades. We really don't have any selfish motives, It is all for the academy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had heard about this matter from President Gu. Now that they heard about it from Director Zhao and the others, they were not too angry. Yun Chuzhou mumbled to the side, "What a nice way of saying it. It's just like a turtle dove taking over a magpie's nest. You don't ask, you're stealing. You don't have the money to steal from your neighbors, so you're justified? Shameless." Director Zhao could not take it anymore. He roared at Yun Chuzhou, "Yan Qingqing, shut up." Yun Chuzhou immediately looked at Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu with tears in her eyes. "Master, he's angry at me. Sob sob, he dared to bully me in front of you. You can imagine what kind of life I had in the past. It's already a miracle that we can live until now. Wu am really too miserable." Chu Feng immediately threw the teacup at Director Zhao. "You bastard, why are you angry? If you're angry again, get the hell out of the Academy of 10 Directions." Director Zhao was angry and aggrieved. He mumbled, "Elder Chu, as the director, there's nothing wrong with me lecturing the students, right?" Yun Chuzhou immediately placed her hands on her hips. "You can lecture other students, but you can't lecture me. I have a master, why would I need you to lecture me? Besides, I'm my master's disciple and my seniority is higher than yours. If you count it, you still have to call me martial uncle." Only then did Director Zhao and the others realize that Yun Chuzhou had always addressed Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu as master. Could it be that these two had taken in Yan Qingqing as their disciple? If that was really the case, then how would they live in the future? Wouldn't this troublemaker torture them to death? Chapter 5999, The Few of You Jior. Director Zhao looked at Chu Feng with a glimmer of hope. "Elder Chu, is Yan Qingqing really your disciple?" Chu Feng was about to deny it. After all, he had not thought it through yet when he heard Yun Chuzhou point at Director Zhao and berate him angrily. "Martial nephew Zhao, what do you mean by this? By asking this, do you think that my two masters are not qualified to be my masters? Even though I am a little outstanding, even though I made a name for myself in the 100-year grand competition, and even though there are many people who are fighting to be my masters, I am not a bastard who would betray my masters and destroy my ancestors. Once a master, always a father. In this life. In the next life, I will be the disciple of my two masters. Master, come drink some tea. Don't be angry with such a fool. It's not worth it." Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu, who were dumbfounded, held the teacup in their hands and opened their mouths. Before they could think of what to say, Yun Chuzhou placed her hands on her hips and pointed at Director Zhao and the others. "It's not that I'm praising my two masters. Not everyone has the wisdom of the two of them to be able to find a pearl like me among tens of thousands of people. If it weren't for the two of them carefully teaching me, I wouldn't have performed so well. If it weren't for me risking my life, the reputation of the 10 Directional Academy would have been trampled on. This was also because my master and the others had just taken me in and didn't have much time to teach me. Otherwise, I would have been a tyrant in the 10 Directional Academy." Cough cough, I'm talking about the top student. This fellow thought to herself, "That was close. I almost went bald." Fortunately, she was quick-witted. This fellow hurriedly continued, "Master, I believe that under the wise leadership of the two of you, our 10 Directional Academy will definitely shine. That bullshit Divine Revelation Academy isn't even worthy of carrying our shoes. It'll infuriate that ugly old man Chi to death." Chu Feng originally wanted to deny Yun Chuzhou's earlier words, but when he heard the last few sentences, his attention was immediately diverted. He felt that the words of the little girl in front of him were too pleasing to the ear. Yes, he would infuriate that ugly Chi Chin to death. "Master and master, they've occupied our land and robbed us of our things. Shouldn't we let them return the things that they've occupied to their rightful owners? Otherwise they would think that our Primal Academy is easy to bully. If word got out, they would definitely make fun of us. They would think that your words in the 10 Directions Academy are no longer effective." Yun Chuzhou said indignantly. Chu Feng automatically brought this other into Chi Chin. He immediately threw the teacup in his hand at Director Zhao. "You bastard, looking at you makes me angry." The little trash was right. "The few of you should quickly return the territory and things of the Primal Institution, or else he'll break your legs." Director Zhao and the others looked like they were about to cry. Although they were extremely unwilling, they did not dare to disobey, so they could only grit their teeth and agree. Chu Feng was just about to tell everyone to scram when Yun Chuzhou sighed. "Masters, I don't know if I should say anything." Chu Feng looked at her. "If you have something to say, say it. If you have something to say, then say it." Yun Chuzhou secretly scolded this old man for being too rude, but her face showed a look of sympathy. "Master, although it is a matter of course for this thing to be returned to its original owner, but in this way, it will definitely affect the normal teaching of the 6 branches. I can't bear it. You see, our prehistoric branch doesn't need such a big place for the time being anyway. It's not too late to ask them to return the place and treasures after we recruit the students. At least give them some time to recover. Chu Feng was stunned and then shook his head. You little trash are really too soft-hearted and too kind-hearted. They have already bullied you to such an extent, and you still want to plead on their behalf? What a kind woman. Chapter 6000, I am a pauper. Director Zhao and the others almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This elder Chu must be blind, right? This troublemaker has nothing to do with being soft-hearted and kind, okay? However, it had to be said that her suggestion hit the nail on the head. Director Zhao hurriedly said, Elder Chu Yen, Marshal Uncle Yan's words make sense. We will definitely return the things, but please give us some time to recover. Director Zhao gritted his teeth and said, Senior Uncle Yen, but in order to protect his territory he couldn't care less. He finally saw through it. He didn't know what kind of bewitching potion this girl had fed the 2 elders, but they had been fooled by her. If he wanted them to change their minds, he could only place his hopes on this troublemaker. Seeing that Director Zhao was like this, the other chancellors had no choice but to thicken their skin and call him Marshal Uncle Yen. It was as if He Xingjiu was going to burst with joy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu did not want to take back their territories and things immediately. Although they wanted to revive the primeval subdivision in the future, they were not in a hurry. Therefore the 2 of them looked at each other and Chu Feng nodded. Then there's no need to return it for now. Well, return it when we need it. Director Zhao and the others thanked him profusely and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yan Qingqing, this troublemaker, had finally done a good deed. Could it be that she had turned over a new leaf? Marshal nephews, although this thing and territory can be lent to you temporarily, you've borrowed it for hundreds of years. Should we calculate the rent? Yun Chuzhou said with a smile like a wolf with a big tail. Director Zhao and the other 3 were speechless. No wonder she was so kind-hearted. It turned out that she was blackmailing them. They couldn't help but think of the half-smile on Yan Qingqing's face when she rejected their offer to collect the rent. They couldn't help but shiver. This troublemaker was simply an example of seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. In the end, after bargaining, He Xingjiu extorted hundreds of millions of spirit stones, spirit tools and medicinal herbs. Chu Feng scolded the 6 of them again, and under He Xingjiu's kind suggestion, he asked the 6 of them to come over the next day to atone for their crimes and clean the stains on the door. Only then did he ask them to disperse. Director Zhao and the others staggered out of the primeval institution. After walking for a while, they finally realized that they had been tricked again. In the future, not only would they have to return their territory and spirit tools, but they would also be extorted so many spirit stones and things by that troublemaker. It was A.H. The 6 of them gnashed their teeth in hatred, but they could do nothing about it. After all, that troublemaker had 2 big legs. They would only provoke her if they were tired of living. On the other side, He Xingjiu said with a smile, Master, I'll transfer all the rental fees to you too. After all, you 2 don't have much income. These things will be enough for you to spend some time. Chu Feng immediately exploded. Bullshit, when have I ever been short of money? Those lousy things are not worth my attention. Yun Chuzhou immediately smiled like a flower. Master, since they are not worth your attention, then give them to me. I'm not as rich as you, I'm just a pauper. Chu Feng waved his hand impatiently. As you wish. Thank you very much, Master. Not only are your cultivation high and your moral character high, but you're also so generous. I'm really lucky to be your disciple for 3 lifetimes. He Xingjiu's smile was so brilliant that it blinded President Gus's face with envy and hatred. Chapter 6001, Why don't you go to heaven? President Gu wished that he had such a rich master as well. So many good things and he just gave them to this little girl Yan Qingqing so easily? But that was also true. These things were all extorted by her through her mouth. It was useless even if he just stared at them. At this moment Zhuang Mu coughed. Little girl, on account of your good performance in the 100-year grand competition, I didn't expose you just now. However, we haven't decided whether to accept you or not. When the bet is lost, don't use our name to spout nonsense. Yun Chuzhou had long seen through it. Although Chu Feng was usually noisy, in reality, Zhuang Mu was the one who made the decision between the 2 of them. She smiled confidently. Masters, there's no need for a month's time. I can fulfill the bet now. Chu Feng was stunned at first, then he curled his lips. Little trash, are you talking nonsense? Are you trying to say that you know all the things on the 2 goatskin scrolls? Yes, that's what I meant, Yun Chuzhou said lightly. Chu Feng's face immediately darkened. Little trash, you're clearly making fun of us. It seems that I've been too indulgent with you. When Chu Feng said these words, he emitted a terrifying pressure. President Gus's forehead immediately broke out in cold sweat, and Ding Wenru trembled like a leaf. He Xingjiu, however, was indifferent. Master, as the saying goes, a mule or a horse is brought out for a walk. Let's see who is the real deal. Good. I see that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Let's not talk about other things first. You can first draw me an ice rapid condensing talisman, Chu Feng said coldly. At this moment he was extremely displeased. He originally thought that this little girl was not bad, but he did not expect her to be so arrogant. Moreover, she did not know her mistake. She really deserved to be taught a lesson. President Gu, who was at the side, kept signaling He Xingjiu with his eyes, asking her to apologize quickly. Otherwise, this master who was about to say something might fly away. President, what happened to your eyes? Did you have a cramp? He Xingjiu asked with a concerned look. President Gu, Yun Chujio took out a blank jade token and a carving knife. She sat down on the ground and began to carve. Chu Feng snorted. Although the moonlight was not bad today, it could not be compared to a room with candlelight or during the day. This little trash was really arrogant to carve it here. However, she did not know how to do it. She might use this as an excuse later. It was really childish. At first, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu watched from the side coldly. They were thinking about how to teach this little trash a lesson so that. However, their eyes soon widened and they could not help but stand behind Yun Chujio. In the end, the two of them simply squatted by the side with shocked expressions. Although the lighting was not very good, they saw that the carving knife in Yun Chujio's hand was as fast as a flood dragon. It was so fast that they could only see after images. At first, they thought that Yun Chujio was blindly carving, but when they saw the runes that had already been carved, they immediately dismissed this idea. Because those runes were not only completely correct, but the spiritual power was also inputted extremely evenly. Once it was done, this ice rapid condensing talisman might be a high-grade one. However, the first part of the carving talisman would be easier, and the later part would be more difficult, so it might not be successfully carved. However, as time passed, they were stunned to find that Yun Chujio's speed and strength did not change at all. Even when she stopped carving, there were no mistakes. Please take a look, masters. I didn't control my strength well during the first carving. The light isn't very good, so the quality of this talisman is a little low. It's embarrassing. President Gu and the others looked at the high-grade ice rapid condensing talisman in her hand. They just wanted to say, why don't you go up to the sky? Could Chapter 6002 concoct pills? Chu Feng snatched the ice rapid condensing talisman from Yun Chujio's hand. The runes on it were carved very accurately, and the spiritual power was injected very evenly. It was almost impossible to find any flaws. Most importantly, this little trash had carved it under such dim lighting. It was truly rare. President Gus's face was filled with shock and he muttered, "It's only been 15 minutes. Even if he had carved a yellow-grade talisman, it would still take 15 minutes, right?" Only then did Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu realize that the little trash had only used 15 minutes to carve a black-grade high-grade talisman. Did she just say it was her first time carving it? No, that was impossible. She must have secretly practiced countless times to achieve this effect. Chu Feng said with a serious expression, "Carve another instant ground escape talisman." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and said, "Master, let's be honest. This is my first time carving it. If the quality is not good, you can't laugh at me." Hearing that, Chu Feng was even more certain that his guess was right. The reason why this little trash could carve a high-grade ice rapid condensing talisman was that practice makes perfect. However, after 15 minutes, a high-grade instant ground escape talisman appeared in Yun Chujio's hand. The process was the same as before. "Aya, it's another upper-grade talisman. How embarrassing." He Xingjiu said with a sigh. President Gu and the others were speechless. However, they were not as shocked as before because of the ice rapid condensing talisman. Then Chu Feng proposed a few more talismans. He Xingjiu easily completed them all, and they were all upper-grade talismans. Actually, there were a few talismans that could be made into supreme-grade talismans. However, He Xingjiu felt that it was too perfect all of a sudden. There would be no room for surprises in the future, so it was better to take it easy. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu went from being in disbelief at the beginning to being shocked later on. In the end, they became ecstatic. They had actually taken in a genius disciple. It was not in vain for them to wait for so many years. They had finally waited for a peerless genius. Even if she could not refine pills, just her talisman talent alone was enough to look down on the world. If that old brat Qichin knew that they had taken in such a talented disciple, he would definitely be angered to death. It was really wonderful. President Gu saw the two of them beaming with joy. He was certain that even if Yan Qingcheng's pill refining talent was not good, the two of them would definitely take her in as a disciple. Who would have thought that the little girl who had been sent to the primeval institution in a muddle-headed state would suddenly become the disciple of the Grand Elder? Things were different now. Although Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were overjoyed in their hearts, they still tried their best to suppress their joy and said, "Your talisman has passed the test. Have you learned how to refine pills? If you haven't learned it, in fact you haven't, don't worry, masters. Although my talent in refining pills is average, I have learned it," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu looked at each other. They felt that they had to polish this little girl's arrogance in the future. Had she learned it too? Impossible. No matter how talented she was, it was already amazing that she could learn how to refine talismans in such a short period of time. How could she have learned how to refine pills at the same time? When they saw the pill furnace that Yun Chujio took out, they were instantly furious. Who could tell them what was going on with the vegetable leaves on the pill furnace? I forgot to wash the pot when I was eating hot pot last time. I really made a fool of myself. Hey, Shinjio said as she washed the pot. It was obvious that she had done it more than once. Chapter 6003, I am not worthy to be your disciple. Chu Feng was in a bad mood. Nonsense. This is simply nonsense. You actually used an alchemy furnace to eat hot pot, why didn't you die from eating it? To an alchemist, an alchemy furnace was an extremely important treasure. It was usually too precious to be taken care of, but this little trash actually used it to eat hot pot? This was simply an insult to an alchemist. Yun Chujio said as she brushed the alchemy furnace, "Master, you don't know. This alchemy furnace is evenly heated and of moderate size. It's the most suitable for eating hot pot. I still have a few here. I'll treat you to hot pot some other day." Chu Feng's nose almost went crooked from anger. If it wasn't for Yun Chujio revealing her talisman talent just now, he would probably have immediately started cursing. After Yun Chujio finished cleaning the alchemy furnace, she started to refine the pills that Chu Feng had requested. Chu Feng saw that she did not care about the order of the ingredients and stuffed all the herbs into the alchemy furnace. Along the way, she would add herbs into the furnace from time to time and did not want to say a word. It seemed that this little trash did not know how to refine pills at all. No wonder she used the alchemy furnace as a hot pot. However, in less than 15 minutes, a rich medicinal fragrance spread out. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu stared at each other. Did they really succeed? They could succeed just by messing around? It was probably just a pot of medicinal juice. It was impossible to form pills. However, when Yun Chujio lifted the lid of the alchemy furnace and they saw the 10 round high-grade pills in the alchemy furnace, they were instantly dumbfounded. "Sai, I haven't refined pills for a long time. My skills are rusty and am only at the high grade. How embarrassing. I've never been so embarrassed in my life," Hei Shinjio said with a sigh. The courtyard was dead silent. After a long while, Chu Feng said in a trembling voice, "Refine another batch of foundation strengthening pills." Yun Chujio didn't waste any time and immediately started refining. Her skills were the same as before. A moment later, when the furnace was opened again, there were still 10 round high-grade pills inside. Chu Feng's lips were trembling with excitement. You refine another batch of spirit-capturing pills." When the horizon was revealed, Yun Chujio had already refined 7 batches of pills in a row. The entire courtyard was filled with the medicinal fragrance. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu had already collapsed onto the ground. President Gu and Ding Wenru were both dumbfounded. Ding Wenru thought to herself, "Oh my god, even though she knew that Qingqing was a pervert, she didn't expect that she's not even human." President Gu recalled that not long ago, Yun Chujio had said that she met the requirements for admission to the prehistoric branch school. At that time, he had scoffed at her, thinking that she was boasting shamelessly. Now, it seemed that not only was she not boasting shamelessly, she was also very modest. No, she was 100% modest. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu supported each other and finally managed to stand up straight. The two of them were so excited that tears streamed down their faces. How many years had it been? They had finally found a good disciple. It was not in vain that they had secluded themselves in the back mountain for such a long time. Even if they had missed the opportunity to develop the Primeval Academy, it was all worth it to have such a genius disciple. The heavens really had eyes. Yun Chujio looked at the 2 old men whose faces were filled with tears. She pursed her lips in her heart. Now they knew that she was well. Didn't they call her a little trash previously? She pursed her lips. Masters, I'm really too useless. My comprehension ability is too poor. It's been half a month and I've only learned so little. I've let you guys down. I'm not worthy to be your disciple. Chapter 6004 Taking in a disciple or an ancestor. Stop it, it's not right for you to say that. My dear disciple, don't belittle yourself. You are the 10 Directions Academy. No, you are the best disciple in the world. You are the best. Chu Feng's old face squeezed out some flattery. Zhuang Mu was also afraid that the disciple that he got would run away, so he hurriedly said, Yes, my dear disciple, how can your comprehension be bad? You are the most talented child that I have ever seen. Is that so? But you didn't want to take me in before and you kept calling me a little trash. My little heart has been hurt so badly that it's dripping with blood. He Xinjiu said with grievance. My good disciple, I was blind in the past and didn't see that you were a pearl covered in dust. You are an adult, so please forgive me this time. Chu Feng said humbly. Zhuang Mu said fawningly from the side, My good disciple, let bygones be bygones. In the future we will definitely take good care of you. If anyone offends you, we will help you beat them up as long as you give the order. Whatever you want, just say it. Even if it's the moon in the sky, I will help you take it down. President Gu couldn't bear to look at it. Was she taking in a disciple or an ancestor? However, it made sense. Such a talented disciple should be worshipped by anyone. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. But what if I'm poor? My good disciple, he'll give you 100 million high-grade spirit stones as pocket money first. If you run out, you can ask Master for it. My good disciple, take these heaven-grade herbs to nourish your body. They're not worth anything, just use them as you please. My dear disciple, although these immortal artifacts aren't much, they can be used to protect your body. Here, I'll give them all to you. The envy, jealousy, and hatred in President Gus' heart were about to materialize. How could there be such a huge difference between people? This god was too unfair. All these years he had been scolded countless times, and he hadn't even gotten the skin of a melon seed. Yet, the little girl had easily obtained so many good things. Moreover, the most infuriating thing was that it was a gift from her son. Ding Wenru did not have any other emotions other than happiness. She knew her own limits. If it was not for Qingqing, she might not even be able to come out of the heavenly dock, let alone reach her current cultivation level. After Yun Chujio had almost finished looting, she said, Master, don't only care about me. My senior sister is still empty-handed. Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were stunned. Only then did they remember that Ding Wenru was a 2-for-1 disciple. Although they were not satisfied with Ding Wenru's talent, they had an agreement so they could only AC. Moreover, even if their talent was a little bad, they had pills and good things in their hands. Even if they forcefully pulled them out, they could make the little grass grow into a towering tree. The two of them were not stingy. They also gave Ding Wenru a lot of good things. Although they could not compare to what was given to He Xinjiu, it was enough to make President Gu envious. President Gu really wanted to open his mouth and ask, Well, can I take in another disciple? Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu were in high spirits when it came to happy events. When they saw his pitiful appearance, they casually threw some pills and talismans to him, and President Gu was immediately elated. It wasn't that he was short-sighted, but the things on these two people weren't something that could be bought with money. Before they retired, they were among the top figures in the Divine Enlightenment continent. After so many years, they were even more extraordinary existences. Yun Chujio had earned a lot of money and she was in a good mood. She looked at the alchemy furnace on the ground and said, Masters President, shall we eat hot pot? Therefore, when Director Zhao and the others drooped their heads to wipe the door, they saw President Gu and the others happily eating hot pot. However, the bubbling thing was an alchemy furnace, right? Chapter 6005. The Miserable 6 Chancellors. Master, the six chancellors are here. Let's not eat them. He Xinjiu shivered as if she were a doormat. Seeing this, Chu Feng picked up an empty plate and threw it at Director Zhao and the others. You are a jinx. What did you come here for? Get out of here. Director Zhao was staring at the pill furnaces. He didn't expect Chu Feng to make a move just like that. Fortunately, Chu Feng didn't use his spiritual power. Otherwise he would have been knocked out. Director Zhao was both afraid and aggrieved. He was the one who asked them to clean the gate. Did they think he was willing to come? Just as Director Zhao was stunned, he saw Chu Feng's old face smiling like a flower. He said to Yun Chujio softly, Good disciple, don't be afraid. More. Yun Chujio mumbled, Master, it's not good for us to eat hot pot here and let the 6 of you clean the door, right? What's not good about it? They deserve it. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and clean it. If you don't clean it properly, you'll be in trouble. Director Zhao and the others did not dare to disobey. They could only smell the fragrance of the hot pot and wiped the door sadly. They hated Yun Chujio and those students who splashed the dog blood in the past, but they had nowhere to vent their anger. When the door was almost finished wiping, they heard Yun Chujio sigh. Master, this door is almost finished. But our courtyard has been dug into a mess, and there is no room for people to live in. Why don't you sit down first? I will go and do it. My good disciple, I still want to teach you how to make talismans. Let those little brats do such a rough job. Chu Feng finished speaking to Yun Chujio in a soft voice. Then he glared at Director Zhao and the others and shouted, Did you all hear that? Clean the gate in a while and tidy up this courtyard for me. Otherwise don't be a director anymore. Director Zhao and the others wanted to cry, but there was nothing they could say. They could only grit their teeth and agree. They were cursing He Xingjiu in their hearts. As the primeval sub-institution had been messed up, Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu discussed and decided to bring He Xingjiu and Ding Wenru to President Gu's courtyard. President Gu couldn't ask for more. Although he couldn't eat meat, it was good to drink some meat soup. He cupped his fists at Director Zhao and the others who couldn't help him and chased after them. Seeing that everyone had gone far away, Director Zhao spat hard. Bah! Why is that person surnamed Gu pretending to be a good person? Since he knows that the two Grand Elders are from the Primal Division, why didn't he remind us? He's obviously trying to make a fool out of us. Director Ren echoed, You're right, that person surnamed Gu is too evil. However, the main culprit is still that Yan Qingqing. If it wasn't for her adding fuel to the fire, we wouldn't have been punished so badly. Headmaster Zhou from the Spirit Power Division also said angrily, That's right, that Yan Qingqing is really a disaster. If it wasn't for her, perhaps nothing would have happened to our Spirit Power Division's Beiyu. Let's not talk about anything else. Just thinking about the spirit tools and spirit stones that were extorted by that troublemaker makes me want to strangle her to death. Headmaster Sun from the Array Division gritted his teeth and said. The few of them cursed for a while. Director Zhao's eyes flashed as he said, Brothers, we have failed this time. However, there is still time in the future. The two Grand Elders cannot always protect that troublemaker. We will find an opportunity to deal with her properly. It is not difficult to deal with her. However, if the two Grand Elders know about it, how can we survive? Director Rin said worriedly. Chapter 6006 Collusion. Director Zhao curled his lips and said, Humph, that troublemaker must have fooled the two Grand Elders with her flowery words. Her aptitude is so bad that the two Grand Elders will soon regret taking her as a disciple. We can make a move then. What you said makes sense. You can't fool them forever. I don't believe that the two Grand Elders are really willing to take a trash as a disciple. There are so many outstanding students in the academy. When the time comes, we can recommend them to the two Grand Elders, Director Sun of the Array Division echoed. When she loses her favor, it will be as easy as flipping our hands to deal with her. When the time comes, we will deal with her together with the person surnamed Gu, Director Ren gnashed his teeth and said. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that Yan Qingqing did not have many days to jump around. They suddenly felt much better. Naturally, they wouldn't really repair the house. They called over a few odd-job workers to help and quickly renovated the primal region. Just as they were about to leave, Director Zhao said sternly with a swollen face, Brothers, let's make it clear first. We are all on the same side. We must advance and retreat together. If anyone has any evil intentions, don't blame us for turning against you. Everyone immediately made a solemn vow. They were all in the same boat, so of course they had to face the outside world together. Director Sun of the Array Division staggered back to his own courtyard. On the way he saw that the students were somewhat evasive. His old face almost turned purple. He had never been so embarrassed before. It was all because of that troublemaker Yan Qingqing. He went back to the courtyard to wash up. After all, he had been stained with a lot of dog blood. Even though he had used the cleaning technique, he still felt very uncomfortable. Just after he finished bathing, a guard came over and reported, Director Sun, Yan Qingqing from the Primeval Branch wants to see you. What did you say? Director Sun felt that he must have heard wrongly. That troublemaker still dared to come in front of him? Wasn't she afraid that he would slap her to death? Yan Qingqing is outside and said that she wants to see you, the guard repeated. No. Director Sun gritted his teeth and said. Although he wanted to slap that troublemaker to death, she was currently in the limelight and did not need to be in trouble. At this moment he heard someone's smiling voice, Marshal Nephew's son, who made you suffer? Why are you so angry? As he spoke, Director Sun saw a little girl push the door open and walk in. It was Yan Qingqing, the troublemaker. Yan Qingqing, you actually barged in without permission. How dare you? Get out. Director Su. Marshal nephew Sun, what you said is wrong. As marshal uncle, I came to visit you. Shouldn't you be grateful? Why don't you welcome me? I came under the orders of my two masters. Are you trying to rebel? Hei Xinjiu said with her hands behind her back. What orders? The courtyard gate and the house have been repaired. Why are you still looking for me? Director Sun asked in a bad mood. Yin Chujio sighed. Marshal nephew Sun, you really disappoint me. I originally thought that you were the smartest and most promising among the 6 postmasters. That's why I came to look for you. I didn't expect that you wouldn't understand my painstaking efforts. Since that's the case, then I'll go and meet with Chancellor Zhou and the others. As Yun Chujio said this, she turned around and was about to leave. Director Sun was a little stunned and hurriedly said, Wait, speak clearly. Why are you looking for me? Yun Chujio glanced at the guard who had made the report. Director Sun hurriedly waved his hand to make the guard leave. Chapter 6007 was as honest as me. Can you say it now? Director Sun said in a bad mood. Yun Chujio glanced at him and then sat on the main seat of the study. She pointed at the chair with its hands hanging down. Sit down. Director Sun's nose almost went crooked from anger. This was his study, okay. This troublemaker was really not a stranger. Director Sun endured it and sat on the chair. What exactly are you trying to say? Marshal nephew Sun, isn't your hospitality a little too poor? I worked so hard to come here and talk to you about important matters, and you don't even give me a cup of tea? Yun Chujio looked at the desk and said unhappily. Director Sun's hand clenched into a fist and then loosened. He tried to persuade himself that if he couldn't bear it, he would mess up the big plan. If he really beat up this troublemaker, he probably wouldn't be able to see the sun tomorrow. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and ordered his subordinates to bring tea and pastries. Yun Chujio sipped 2 cups of tea and ate a piece of pastries. When Director Sun's patience was about to run out, she slammed the table and said sternly, Marshal nephew Sun, do you think that I don't know that you guys are colluding to harm me? Director Sun was shocked, but he was shrewd after all. He immediately sneered and said, Where did you say that from? Even if you want to frame me, you have to have evidence. Evidence? Of course I have evidence. Otherwise, how would I know your plan? Do you think the 6 of you are on the same page? You silly child, you have been sold and you are still helping others count the money. Yun Chujio shook her head and sighed. Director Sun, who was called a silly child, had goosebumps all over his body. However, he could not care about these things now. He asked suspiciously, What do you mean by this? I'll tell you the truth. Someone has already told me what you've just schemed, Yun Chujio said lightly. Director Sun snorted coldly. Schemed? What are we scheming? You're just spouting nonsense. Do you think I'm bluffing you? Didn't you guys just discuss how to deal with me after my 2 masters find out that I'm trash? Someone had already tipped me off. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and said. Director Sun's pupils immediately constricted, but he still denied it. This is purely a false accusation. It's not true at all. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes and sighed. Marshal nephew Sun, you are indeed as honest as I am. You always think of people as too kind. Director Sun's mouth twitched. Shameless. You're not even close to being honest, okay? Sai, I have the best impression of your array division. We don't have any conflicts, so I want to give you some advice. Since you are so stubborn, just treat it as if I came here for nothing. Yun Chujio stood up and was about to leave. Director Sun would not let her go, so he quickly said, Wait, what do you want to say? Yun Chujio shook her head. Rotten wood can't be carved. It's useless for me to tell you. I might as well go and talk to someone else. I think Junior Zhou from the Beastmaster faculty is not bad. Director Sun was not in a hurry. He gritted his teeth and said, Senior Uncle Yen, I have a few good-tasting spirit fruits here. Why don't you try them? Yun Chujio saw the plate of spirit fruits that Director Sun took out and shamelessly put it into her storage ring. She did not even let the plate go. Well, since you're so filial, I'll remind you that the Academy wants to promote one of the 6 of you to Deputy Director. Chapter 6008 was actually very kind. What did you say? Director Sun was so shocked that his voice changed. Marshal nephew Sun, why are you so excited? Isn't it just to promote a deputy headmaster? Is it necessary? Yun Chujio said lightly. Director Sun realized that he had lost his composure. He tried hard to suppress the excitement in his heart and said, Marshal Uncle Yen, is what you said true? Do you really want to promote a deputy headmaster? Although every branch had a chancellor and a vice-chancellor, the academy only had one president and had never appointed a vice president. If he was promoted to vice president, he would be the second in command of the academy. He might even be the successor of the next president. Of course, Director Sun was very excited. Yun Chujio nodded. Of course it's true. My two masters are not very satisfied with President Gus's performance. They feel that it is necessary to train another vice president to replace President Gu as soon as possible. Upon hearing this, Director Sun was so excited that his hands were trembling. He thought about what Yun Chujio had said before and immediately said with some excitement, "Marshal Uncle Yen, you specially came to look for me. Could it be that you want to help me?" Yun Chujio sighed. Of course. Otherwise, why would I come to look for you? Sai, it's a pity that you don't understand my painstaking efforts. You even spoke coldly to me. Really makes my heart chill. Forget it. I see that you don't trust me much either. I'd better go visit other martial nephews. Director Sun immediately became anxious. If such a good opportunity were to slip away just like that, wouldn't he regret it for the rest of his life? Marshal Uncle Yen, I was blinded by lard just now. It was all nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. Please take a seat quickly. It's time for dinner. They'll get someone to prepare dinner. There's no need for dinner. I still have to go back and have dinner with my two masters. Marshal Nephew Sun, the food and drinks are all empty. You have to show me your sincerity. Yun Chujio said as if she was implying something. Director Sun was also a smart person. He immediately understood Yun Chujio's meaning. Since someone had already snitched on him, he didn't need to worry about him anymore. Thus, he told her everything about the conspiracy. Of course he hid his words. Yun Chujio nodded. That's right. You are still a little sincere. It seems that I didn't misjudge him. Oh right, I have to remind you. Don't get involved with Director Zhao in the future. Didn't you see that he was beaten the most miserably? He is the one that my two masters despise the most. Director Sun nodded repeatedly. Marshal Uncle Yen, don't worry. Yun Chujio took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Director Sunday. This is the marrow cleansing and body strengthening pill that I obtained with great difficulty from my master. I will reward it to you. Director Sun was so touched that he almost cried. This troublemaker was not that annoying. He was actually very kind. Marshal Uncle Yen, if you need anything from me in the future, just let me know. I will definitely not refuse. Yun Chujio nodded. I reckon that the news of the promotion of the vice principal will spread very quickly. However, don't worry, I have high hopes for you. I will definitely put in a good word for you. Then thank you, Marshal Uncle Yen. I will visit Marshal Uncle Yen another day. These spirit stones are a small token of my appreciation. I hope that Marshal Uncle Yen won't mind. Director Sun said as he transferred a large amount of spirit stones to Yun Chujio. The most favored person in front of the two grand elders was this Yen Qingqing. If he wanted to stand out, he had to put in more effort on her. Chapter 6009. I have an idea. After leaving the courtyard of Director Sun, Hei Xinjiu came to see President Gu with her hands behind her back. Marshal Nephew Gu, are you reading? This guy said with his hands behind his back as soon as he entered the study room. President Gus's face stiffened. Before he could say anything, Yun Chujio continued, Look at my mouth, it's bald. You are the president of the academy, how can I call you Marshal Nephew? It's better to call you president in the future. President Gu said a few words of courtesy perfunctorily. It wasn't easy for him to get from little Gu to President Gu. He didn't want to be called Marshal Nephew Gu by this little girl again. Yen, President Gu really couldn't call him Marshal Uncle Yen, so he simply didn't address him as Marshal Uncle Yen. He directly said, You came to look for me for something? President, to tell you the truth, after I left you, I went to the Array Division's Director Sunday. I could hear from his words that they hated you to the core. I'm still alright. After all, with two masters protecting you, I'm afraid your future will be difficult. Yun Chujio said earnestly. There's nothing I can do about it. If I ask them to hand over a part of their power, they will naturally be dissatisfied with me. President Gu believed her words without a doubt. He had also thought of this point. Yun Chujio lowered her voice. President, I have to remind you out of kindness. The 6 of them are colluding with each other and have quite a number of forces under them. You should be more careful in the future. Don't think that my master dislikes them now. However, as time goes by, this matter will be over. If they give you a hard time in front of my two masters, you might have to return the power that you don't have yet. You might not be able to hold on to your position as president anymore. Hearing that, President Gu immediately became anxious. Yen Qingcheng's worry was not without reason. In the end, Director Zhao and the other three did not make any big mistakes. In addition, they were also quite capable. With the 6 of them ganging up on him, he was really at a disadvantage. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. President, I have an idea. Do you want to tell me about it? President Gu knew that she had many ideas, so he said, tell me about it. President, why don't we spread the news and say that we want to promote a vice president? Aren't the 6 of them targeting you just to compete for power and benefits? But with a big pie like the vice president, they will turn against each other. They won't have the energy to deal with you. They might even take the initiative to please you. At that time, won't the initiative be in your hands? President Gus' eyes lit up. This was a good eye. Once the news was released, the 6 people would definitely have a feud. At that time, if he tried to sow discord, the alliance of these 6 people would collapse. However, President Gu still had some misgivings. This idea isn't bad. However, do we really have to promote a vice president? President Gu, isn't it still up to you whether we should promote him or not? Can't we just find an excuse to fool him then? President Gu nodded repeatedly. It had to be said that this troublemaker had many wicked ideas. No wonder he took in those 2 as his masters. It seemed to be the other way around. However, no matter what, this idea was not a bad one. The 2 of them chatted about the details of this matter. Only then did Yun Chujio swagger out of President Gus' courtyard and return to the prehistoric branch. Qingqing, you're back? Where did you go? Ding Wenru asked curiously. I went to the array formation branch to take a look at Marshal Nephew Sunday. Here, eat the fruit. Hei Shinjio threw a spirit fruit to Ding Wenru. Chapter 6010 was quite suitable for me. Ding Wenru looked at the spirit fruit in her hand and asked in surprise, Yo, this 1,000-petal fruit is very precious. Where did you get it? Marshal Nephew's son gave it to me. I have to say, these Marshal Nephews are very filial. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The corner of Ding Wenru's eyes twitched. Filial? Those few chancellors should want to strangle you to death. Seeing Ding Wenru's dumbfounded face, Yun Chujio told her everything. Ding Wenru immediately widened her eyes. I've been with you all day today. Why didn't I know about the promotion of the vice principal? It's very simple because I did it first before reporting it. After I fooled Marshal Nephew's son, I went to find little Gu Zi to settle the matter, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Ding Wenru, Qingqing, although Director Sun has been fooled by you now, if he reacts in a few days, won't he hate you to death? Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Otherwise, do you think that they don't hate me? Don't worry, didn't I ask him to confess the crimes of the others? I have already recorded it with the recording stone. If he doesn't listen, I will use this to threaten him. Besides, it's too late for them to fight each other. How would they have the time to doubt my words? Then how will this matter end? Are we really going to promote a vice-chancellor to the position of vice-chancellor? Yun Chujio revealed a sinister smile. Who exactly is the vice-chancellor in the end? Isn't it just a word from my 2 masters? I think I'm quite suitable. Ding Wenru, she felt that her brain and courage were not enough. You are just a new student, and you actually want to be the vice president? Isn't that a little whimsical? Ding Wenru pondered for a long time before she said tentatively, by doing this, not only do you want to drive a wedge between the 6 chancellors, you also want to step on them and rise to the top. You also want to pin down President Gu, right? Yun Chujio nodded her head in approval. Sister Ding, your brain is becoming more and more flexible. You are right. It is better to rely on yourself than anyone else. Although the 2 masters doted on me, it is not reliable. Therefore, I have to make myself more valuable. If I want to display my skills, I have to have power. If I don't play tricks, no matter how open-minded President Gu is, he will not give me the power in his hands. Ding Wenru looked worried. Qingqing, what do you want to do with such a scheme? I just want to live a better and more comfortable life, Yun Chujio said lightly. This was also an idea that came to her at the last minute. The deputy dean of the 10 Directions Academy was much more useful than a favored student. In this way, not only did she not have to worry about the Divine Devil Hall finding fault with her, but she could also openly visit the 10,000 Buddha's sacred palace, to cause trouble. Then are you going to meet the other chancellors later? Ding Wenru asked. If I take the initiative to go, it will definitely arouse suspicion. I have to take the initiative to wait for them to come. Don't worry. Soon the other people will know that I went to Director Sun's place. They will definitely be suspicious. I just need to wait and see. When I think of what will happen, my heart will surge. Ding Wenru looked at Hei Shinjio, who had a sinister smile on her face, and lit a candle for the 6 presidents and President Gu. By the way, how did you know what Director Sun and the others are planning? Yun Chujio pointed at her own head. I guessed it. They have suffered such a huge loss. They must be discussing how to take revenge on me. I was also bluffing him. Who knew that he was so stupid that he directly exposed himself? Ding Wenru, it's not that he's stupid, it's that you're a pervert. Chapter 6011. For your face, Director Zhao and the others had spies, so the news of Yun Chujio going to Director Sun quickly spread. Director Zhao and the others were a little suspicious. Why did Yan Qingqing go to Director Sun? She actually stayed for a long time before leaving? Thus, the next day Director Zhao and the others coincidentally bumped into Director Sunday. Director Sun, I heard that Yan Qingqing went to look for you yesterday? Why did that troublemaker look for you? Director Ren of the Alchemy Division probed. It's nothing much, just a casual chat. Director Sun laughed and said, casual chat. The others naturally didn't believe it. Everyone was incompatible with each other, what could they talk about? Director Zhao's eyes flashed. Director Sun, we are all in the same boat. If you do something to let us down, don't blame us for not being polite. Director Sun recalled what Yun Chujio had said to him and the threat in his tone. His expression immediately turned ugly. Director Zhao, what do you mean? Don't tell me that I don't even have the freedom to talk to anyone? Or do you mean that once Yan Qingqing enters my courtyard, I have to chase her out? Director Zhao did not show any weakness and sneered. What are you in a hurry for? Are you feeling guilty? If you don't feel guilty, then tell me what you have been talking about. Those who are clear about things are clear about things, and those who are unclean are unclean. You can believe it or not. Since you suspect me, then don't look for me in the future. Director Sun said and left. Director Sun was furious. No wonder Yan Qingqing did not allow him to interact with Director Zhao. He was indeed a troublemaker. Did you all see that? He must have something on his mind. Otherwise, why would he be so angry? Director Zhao pointed at Director Sun's back and said. The other chancellors became more and more suspicious. Could it be that Director Sun had defected to Yan Qingqing's side? Director Zhao snorted. Forget it. One more won't make a difference. One less won't make a difference. In the future we'll just work together as one. The others nodded and then left. However, the news spread that afternoon immediately made everyone restless. What? The Academy wanted to promote a vice president? No wonder there was something wrong with Director Sunday. Could it be that he had already received the news? Director Zhao and the others were both angry and jealous. They began to make plans in their hearts. They first went to President Gu to test him. When they learned that the news was true, their attitude towards President Gu suddenly became ingratiating. President Gu saw that their attitudes were completely different from before and thought that the idea of stirring up trouble it finally made him feel proud. However, President Gu's attitude towards everyone was about the same. No one had received any useful information. President Zhou of the Spirit Energy Faculty pondered over it and felt that it was still necessary to pay a visit to Yan Qingqing. After all, she was now the beloved disciple of the two Grand Elders. If she could put in a few good words for them, their chances of winning would be much greater. As for the alliance that he had formed with Director Zhao and the others, they could only stand aside in the face of benefits. Oh, Marshal Nephew Zhou, why are you here? Did you come to visit me with a gift? Yun Chujio put her hands behind her back, looking like a wolf with a big tail. What could Director Zhou say? He could only take out his spiritual weapon painfully. Before he could say anything, it was snatched away by He Xinjiu. You are too polite. You came so easily. Why did you give me anything? Sai, if I didn't accept it, you would have lost face. For your face, I reluctantly accepted it. Chapter 60:12. The ostracized Director Zhao. Director Zhou's face stiffened, but when he thought of his original intention of coming, he could only endure the pain and say, this is what I should do. It's good that Marshal Uncle Yen doesn't mind. Of course not. It's just that my money is a little tight recently, and I don't even have the money to buy buns, He Xinjiu said with a sigh. Director Zhou was so angry that he was twitching. Your money is tight? Are you shameless? Did you feed all the spiritual stones that you extorted to the dogs? If He Xinjiu knew what he was thinking, she would definitely tell him that she didn't feed the dogs but fed the pigs. Chancellor Zhou had no choice but to give He Xinjiu a lot of spiritual stones. He Xinjiu immediately smiled like a flower. Marshal Nephew Zhou, I've always thought highly of you. As expected, I didn't misjudge you. Come, sit, have some tea. The two chatted for a while before Chancellor Zhou got to the main topic. Marshal Uncle Yen, I heard that the academy is promoting a vice dean. I will ask Marshal Uncle Yen to put in a good word for me. After the matter is done, I will definitely repay you heavily. Marshal Nephew Zhou, you are indeed smart. You have found the right person to look for me. To be honest, although Marshal Nephew Gu has some say in this matter, the ones who make the decisions are my two masters. My two masters love me the most, so in the end, it's up to me to decide who will be the vice principal? Yun Chujio said smugly. Marshal Uncle Yen is right. Then I'll leave this matter to you. In the future, if you need anything, just say the word. Chancellor Zhou said in a fawning manner. Marshal Nephew Zhou, put aside the things you don't say. I heard that you guys have already discussed how to deal with me. Is there such a thing? Chancellor Zhou thought to himself, if a dead fellow Daoist doesn't die, this poor Daoist will take the opportunity to get rid of those few competitors. Thus, he added fuel to the fire and recounted the conspiracy that day. Yun Chujio immediately slapped the table. This is really outrageous. From what you said, the culprit is Director Zhao. No wonder the two masters dislike him the most. He is indeed a black-hearted person. Let me give you a piece of advice. In order not to anger the two masters, you should pay less attention to Director Zhao in the future. Director Zhou repeatedly agreed. In his heart, he was determined to draw a clear line with Director Zhao so that he would not be implicated. Seeing that he was almost done, Director Zhou took his leave. Yun Chujio took out a small porcelain bottle and handed it to him. This is the marrow cleansing and body strengthening pill that I obtained with great difficulty from my master. I will give it to you as a reward. Director Zhou was immediately overwhelmed by the favor. He did not expect to see money again. This troublemaker was not so hateful after all. Soon, Director Ren and the others also came to visit. The process was exactly the same. They voluntarily gave Yun Chujio a generous gift and then left gratefully. Only Director Zhao did not come. Qingqing, I heard that Director Zhao has been having a hard time recently. Not only did President Gu give him a hard time, but the other chancellors also opposed him. He really deserves it. Ding Wenru said gloatingly. Yun Chujio was not surprised at all. This was all planned by her. Director Zhao's life was indeed a little hard. He really did not understand. They had originally agreed to form an alliance, but why did they exclude him in the blink of an eye? Although everyone was at odds with each other for the position of vice director, the other few were at least doing well on the surface. Why did they all have to target him? He also wanted to look for Yen Qingqing, but he felt that he could not afford to lose face. Moreover, he felt that Yen Qingqing would not help him at all. After all, he had offended her too harshly. He did not expect that Yen Qingqing would take the initiative to visit him. Chapter 60 13 Love is a deep responsibility. Director Zhao heard from the guards that Yen Qingqing had come. The first thought that flashed through his mind was that she had come to add insult to injury and see him become a laughingstock. He snapped, I'm not going to see you. Yo, Marshal Nephew Zhao, it's been a few days since we last met. Your temper has grown. Even I, an elder, have to be refused entry. Are you trying to rebel? Director Zhao was livid when he saw He Xingjiu enter uninvited. If it were not for the two grand elders, he would have strangled her to death. What are you doing here? You are not welcome here. See you out. Director Zhao said in a bad mood. Marshal Nephew Zhao, you have really disappointed me. I wanted to talk to you about the deputy headmaster. Since you are so tactless, I will take my leave. He Xingjiu turned around and was about to leave when Director Zhao hurriedly said, Wait. He quickly waved his hand to dismiss the guards and then asked tentatively, What did you say just now? About the vice director? Could it be that the candidate has been chosen? Yun Chujio glanced at him, shook her head and sighed, making Director Zhao's heart flutter. Marshal Nephew Zhao, I heard that you haven't been having a good time recently? Director Zhao's face immediately showed some embarrassment. It's just SOSO. It's still passable. Let's not talk about this. Has the vice director's selection been decided? Yun Chujio let out a long sigh. Marshal Nephew Zhao, do you know that there's a saying? Love is deep and responsibility is deep. The reason why the two grand elders beat you the most was because they had high hopes for you. To be honest with you, this vice director was tailor-made for you, but your performance has really disappointed the two of them. Director Zhao was immediately dumbfounded. What the hell? The two grand elders' favorite candidate was him? Beating him up because love is deep and responsibility? After a long while, Director Zhao asked with doubt, Is what you said true? Of course it's true. Otherwise, why do you think those people isolated you? It's because they think you're the biggest threat. Yun Chujio's face was full of resentment. When Director Zhao heard that, he was immediately enlightened. No wonder President Gu and Director Ren isolated him. It turned out that they were jealous. Director Zhao only felt that his pent-up anger had been swept away. Even Yun Chujio became a lot more pleasing to the eye. In fact, this troublemaker was not so annoying. Martial nephew Zhao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but even if they are jealous of you, you should think of a way to build a good relationship with them. Otherwise, no matter how much my two masters think of you, you can't provoke the public, right? Yun Chujio said earnestly. Director Zhao said somewhat helplessly, it's not that I don't want to build a good relationship with them, it's mainly that they ostracize me. What can I do? Yun Chujio sighed, this is indeed a bit difficult. Generally speaking, outstanding people are lonely. For example, you and I are both like this. Director Zhao. Yun Chujio thought for a while and said, the relationship between those martial nephews and me has been getting better recently. How about this? He'll be the host and treat you to a meal. When the time comes, he'll help you to make peace. Maybe it will improve. Director Zhao said suspiciously, let's not beat around the bush. I have been against you many times before. Why do you want to help me? Yun Chujio sighed and said with a compassionate look, my two masters often taught me to put the academy's interests first. Although we have some small conflicts, it is not a big grudge. I have long put it aside. In the end, it is because you are too outstanding. A tree stands out in the forest and the wind will destroy it. What is wrong with you? Chapter 60:14 Gratitude goes without saying Director Zhao was so touched that he almost cried. He had been receiving cold words these few days. He did not expect that the first person who cared about him would be Yan Qingqing, the troublemaker. It seemed that he had misunderstood her in the past. In fact, this troublemaker was actually good in nature. Martial Uncle Yan, I'll have to trouble you then. Don't worry, if I become the vice principal, I will definitely not forget your kindness in helping me. Yun Chujio nodded and then frowned. Other things are fine. The main thing is that I'm a little short of money recently, so the standard of this seat might be a little low. You won't mind, right? Director Zhao quickly said, Martial Uncle Yan, you're making peace for me. How can I let you spend money? Take these spirit stones first. If it's not enough, I'll make up for it. Another sum of spirit stones came in, and the smile on He Xingjia's face immediately became more sincere. Martial nephew Zhao, don't worry. Leave everything to me. I will go back and prepare. Set a date and I will get someone to send you an invitation. Under Director Zhao's grateful gaze, Yun Chujio walked out of his courtyard. Her heart was simply filled with joy. The plan was progressing very smoothly. As long as the fire was simmered down slowly, the deputy director would be hers in the end. She would find another opportunity to stroll around the 10,000 Buddhist sacred hall, save her cheap parents and then have sex with the gigolo. When this fellow thought of this, she suddenly thought of a problem. Damn it, as long as Goei Batsao was around, it was impossible for her to have sex with the gigolo. This damned Goei Batsao. Recently, a certain grass that had rarely been scolded shook its leaves. Was she blaming it? A little girl who wanted to have sex all day long, how shameless. When Yun Chujio returned to the primeval institution, Chu Feng was waiting for her with his legs crossed. Dear disciple, you're finally back. Have you finished reading the sheepskin scroll I gave you 2 days ago? Have you learned all the talismans on it? Yun Chujio nodded. Master, I have learned it, but my cultivation is not enough, so I can't carve it out. Chu Feng frowned and said, I forgot if you didn't mention it. You said that you're quite smart. Why is your spiritual power so low? Have you been slacking off and not cultivating properly? He Xingjiu smiled bitterly in her heart. It was not that she was slacking off. No matter how hard she worked, it would be useless if the heavenly lightning did not strike her. However, it reminded her that she should go to Thunder Valley to collect rent when she had time. Chu Feng saw that Yun Chujio was a little depressed, so he quickly said, My good disciple, you don't have to worry too much. It's okay if your cultivation is low. It'll help you refine some good pills to cleanse your marrow. I guarantee that your cultivation speed will be faster. Yun Chujio was too embarrassed to discourage him. She nodded and asked, Where are Sister Ding and Master Zhuang? Although that girl can't be compared to you, her comprehension in refining artifacts is pretty good. Zhuang Mu found a place to teach her how to refine artifacts, Chu Feng said. As the two of them were talking, Zhuang Mu and Ding Wenru came back. Zhuang Mu seemed to be in a good mood. He thought that this disciple of his was a good-for-nothing. He did not expect that she was a good seedling for refining weapons. Not only did she have a good comprehension ability, but she also had great strength and was willing to endure hardships. This was a pleasant surprise. Ding Wenru's expression was also a little more relaxed than usual. She knew what she was capable of. She had borrowed the light of Qingqing to become the master of the two grand elders. Naturally, she had to work extra hard to not embarrass Qingqing. There was no need to thank her for her great kindness. If there was a chance in the future, she would definitely repay Qingqing properly. After dinner, Zhuang Mu said seriously, "The two of us have something to do and will be away for a period of time. The two of you should cultivate well. If you have something to do, go look for little Guzi." Chapter 60:15 Hei Xingjiu held a banquet. "Master, when will you come back? I can't bear to let you go," Yun Chujio said with tears in her eyes. This fellow was overjoyed in her heart. Once the two of them left, wouldn't she be the one with the highest seniority in the 10 Directions Academy? It was so wonderful. At most 2 months, at least 1 month. Zhuang Mu and Chu Feng did not know what she was thinking. Seeing how reluctant she was to part with him, they felt comforted and thought that this disciple was not taken in for nothing. The two reminded her for a while more before leaving. Ding Wenru looked at Hei Xingjiu, who was smiling like a flower. She suddenly had a feeling that the following days would definitely be very lively. 2 days later, President Gu and the 6 chancellors received Hei Xingjiu's invitation. The main idea was to celebrate her success in becoming her master by hosting a banquet. President Gu felt that he and Yan Qingqing were on the same side, so he naturally agreed readily. The 5 chancellors also agreed in order to curry favor with her. Director Zhao even agreed readily. This was a banquet that Yan Qingqing had specially arranged for him. How could he not go? Thus, the next day President Gu and the other 3 arrived at the primeval subdivision on time. The banquet was set in the courtyard of the primeval subdivision. The big night pearls on the ground were so dazzling that they blinded the eyes of the 7 people. This troublemaker had been crying poor all this time. They had never thought that there would be such a good thing. The table was already filled with dishes. They looked delicious and looked very sincere. "Martial nephews, I didn't expect you to be so gracious. I'm so touched. Sister Ding, quickly take the gifts from all of you. Seriously, just come, what else do you need?" Although it's to celebrate the success of Sister Ding and I as master, there's no need to give such an expensive gift. President Gu, the 6 chancellors, who said anything about giving gifts? They actually had to accept gifts. However, seeing Ding Wenru coming over to take the gifts with a big smile, they had no choice but to give the gifts while gnashing their teeth. Come, take a seat. Don't stand on ceremony." Hei Xingjiu smiled brilliantly. De Hua's food expenses had been paid again. President Gu and the others were not in such a good mood. They counted on their fingers and realized that they had been cheated by this troublemaker several times recently. How shameless. Yun Chujio pointed at the full moon that had just risen above her head. Today is a good day. The secular world calls it the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's a day for family reunion. Although we haven't known each other for a long time, our feelings are no. From now on, we will be a harmonious and beautiful family. Come, I'll drink tea instead of wine. Cheers first. President Gu and the others didn't want to brush off her good intentions. They picked up their wine glasses and downed them in one gulp. Hei Xingjiu poured herself another cup of tea and said, "Although we may have had some grudges in the past, it's just a trivial matter for a family to not speak of 2 families. Don't mention it again in the future. Come, let me propose another cup." President Gu and the others had no choice but to drink another cup. In the blink of an eye, Hei Xingjiu persuaded them to drink a few cups. After a few cups of wine, everyone felt much more relaxed and the atmosphere at the banquet became much warmer. However, Director Sun and the others still ignored Director Zhao. Director Zhao could not help but look at Yun Chujio for help. Yun Chujio nodded her head indiscernibly and said with a smile, "In fact, apart from celebrating Sister Ding and me as master, there is one more thing today. Martial nephew Zhao wants to explain the previous misunderstanding to everyone. He knows that he was wrong. He shouldn't have caused trouble for no reason. Come, junior martial nephew Zhao, punish yourself with 3 cups. I believe that everyone will not hold it against you." Chapter 60:16 Happiness. Although Director Zhao felt that this was a little different from what he had expected, he could only put on a red face and punish himself with 3 glasses of wine. Director Sun and the others were a little nervous. How could this troublemaker speak up for Director Zhao? Could it be that Director Zhao had given her benefits? However, no one dared to offend Hei Xingjiu now, so they all laughed and drank a glass of wine as if they were giving Yun Chujio face. Yun Chujio said a few more words of peace and then changed the topic. I know that everyone has some thoughts about the vice headmaster's matter recently. This is also a good thing. This shows that you are motivated and want to contribute more to the academy. Director Zhao and the others were exposed and they could not help but feel a little embarrassed. It's good to have thoughts, but just thinking about it is not enough. You have to show results so that my two masters and the headmaster can know who is the most suitable candidate. It's not just you. As long as people in the academy can contribute to the academy, have ideas and have courage, they can all become vice presidents. So, you have to put your thoughts in the right place in the future. Don't let down the high hopes of my two masters. Dean, don't you think I'm right? Although President Gu felt that there was something wrong with these words, he was a little drunk now. He didn't think about it carefully and nodded. That makes sense. In this matter, I will treat everyone equally. Whoever performs well will be the vice president. Director Zhao and the others did not realize that something was wrong. They all swore to express their loyalty to the academy. Yun Chujio quietly put away the recording stone in her sleeve. The vice president was already waving at her. In a few days she would think of a way to buy the hearts of the people and dig a few more holes. Then the vice president would naturally succeed. Just as this fellow was thinking happily, President Gu frowned and looked up at the sky. Director Zhao and the others also looked up. They saw that the full moon had already been covered by a large piece of dark cloud. Almost in an instant, a huge pressure enveloped them. It was difficult for them to breathe. What was going on? Everyone's drunkenness immediately dissipated a little. Could it be that a heavenly lightning was about to descend? Before the crowd had time to think further, with a loud rumble, a thick purple heavenly lightning descended from the sky and struck straight at them. Just as the crowd was in a daze, Yun Chujio shouted, "Get out of the way! Martial uncle, I'm here to save you." As she shouted, President Gu and the others saw a figure tap the ground with the tips of his feet and charge straight towards the heavenly lightning. The thick heavenly lightning struck the figure and He Xingjiu fell to the ground with a thud. She immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. "Don't worry about me. Run." President Gu and the others were shocked. Even though the heavenly lightning wouldn't do anything to them if they were prepared, they were still touched by Yan Qingcheng's behavior. At this moment, another heavenly lightning struck. Yun Chujio immediately jumped up like a rabbit and faced the heavenly lightning again. After being struck by the lightning, this guy spat out a mouthful of blood again and shouted at the top of his voice, "What are you still standing there for? Run. The 10 Directions Academy can't live without you. Sacrificing one of me will bring happiness to millions of families. I'm the elder and I'll take care of it." President Gu and the others were about to say something when another bolt of lightning struck down. He Xingjiu pushed away Director Zhao, who was closest to her, and said, "Junior nephew Zhao, I'm here to save you." Chapter 60-17 was blind. After being pushed away, Director Zhao watched Yun Chujio being struck by lightning again. The lightning was so solid that not a single bit of it was wasted. Director Zhao was shocked. There was only one thought in his mind. Why did she save me? What? He Xingjiu spat out a mouthful of blood and jumped to President Gu's side. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take them away." Before President Gu could say anything, Yun Chujio pushed him away. "Be careful." President Gu, who was pushed to the side, was shocked to see He Xingjiu being struck by the heavenly lightning again. Before he could recover, he saw Yun Chujio heroically push away Director Sun and receive a heavenly lightning bolt for him. Touched, Director Sun shouted in desperation, "Uncle Master Yin, let's retreat together." "That's right, Martial Uncle Yin. The heavenly lightning might not chase after us. Let's retreat together." The others also said quickly. He Xingjiu thought that whether the heavenly lightning would chase after them depended on whether she followed them or not. However, in order to win the hearts of the people and not to expose himself, this guy gritted his teeth and said, "All right, let's retreat together. Run." Therefore, President Gu and the others rushed out of the primeval subdivision. Soon they tragically found that there was a string of purple heavenly lightning behind them. It seemed that they would not stop until they were struck to death. They were both frightened and confused. They had not done anything wrong. Why did the lightning bolts want to kill them? They were running in the direction of the square. They were afraid that they might accidentally hurt the other students. After all, the square was relatively empty. He Xingjiu was thinking about how to get rid of these unlucky fellows. If they continued to follow her, she would not be able to enjoy the hard-earned lightning bolts. When they were about to reach the square, He Xingjiu shouted, "This square is our ancestors' property. We can't destroy it like this. Let's run to the dock and lure the heavenly lightning into the lake." President Gu and the others were stunned by the heavenly lightning's pressure. In addition to the great fear, their minds were already somewhat stiff. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, they subconsciously followed her instructions. Therefore, the few of them rushed out of the main gate of the upper house with a string of heavenly lightning and headed straight for the dock by the lake. Wu Yun in the sky was twitching with anger. He thought, are these few old men crazy? It didn't want to strike them, so why did it have to run with that wretched girl? After venting its anger, a few heavenly lightning bolts from the Wu Yun actually struck press. Naturally, He Xinjiu would not let go of such a good opportunity. She bravely took the few bolts of lightning for them. In order to make the effect more realistic, the guy was in a terrible state. His hair was burnt to ashes and his clothes were covered in blood and dust. He was no longer human. However, his eyes were shockingly bright. I don't deserve to die. The academy cannot live without you. I'm an elder. I'll do it. Get out of the way. Uncle Master will save you. At first, President Gu and the others were skeptical and puzzled. Later they were only filled with gratitude and self-blame. They had been blind to think that Yin Qingqing was a troublemaker. What a kind and good girl she was. Ding Wenru silently watched He Xinjia's performance. She only had one word in her heart: admiration. The group ran all the way to the lakeside. He Xinjiu said righteously, he'll think of a way to lure the heavenly lightning into the lake. Take care of yourselves. Sister Ding, please honor Master for me in the future. See you in the next life. Chapter 60. 18 Boiling prawns. Before President Gu and the others could react to what Yun Chujiu meant, they saw her jump into the lake with a thump, revealing her small head a few feet away. You bastard Yun, what ability do you have to bully a few old men? If you have the ability, come and chop me. Come and chop me. Are you cowardly? You coward. Come, if I'm afraid of death, I'll take your surname. Wu Yun was so angry that he was about to burst. This wretched girl was really hateful. He didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to chop her to death today. Thus, Wu Yun aimed at the place where Yun Chujia's head emerged and struck down several bolts of lightning. Very soon, a large part of the lake water was dyed red. A thought suddenly flashed through President Gu and the others' minds. Was over. Uncle Master Yen was dead for sure. President Gu immediately rushed into the lake to save Yun Chujiu. Ding Wenru was afraid that he would ruin Yun Chujia's plans, so she hugged President Gu. President, you can't go. If you go, won't Qingqing's sacrifice be in vain? You can't let her down. Otherwise, Qingqing will die in peace underground. Besides, Qingqing is the darling of Tiandao. She has always been very lucky and her life may not be in danger. Don't be rash. She had just persuaded President Gu to stop when Director Sun and the others were about to rush into the lake again. Ding Wenru was so busy that her forehead was covered in sweat. She finally persuaded them to stop. She said until her mouth and tongue were dry. In the end, she pointed at Wu Yun, who was still hacking at the surface of the lake, and said, Look, the heavenly lightning hasn't stopped yet. This means that Qingqing shouldn't be dead yet. The heavens will grant her good fortune. She will definitely be fine. President Gu and the others calmed down and felt that what she said made sense. If Yin Qingqing had been hacked to death, this Wu Yun would have come and continued to hack at them or drifted away. He shouldn't have continued to hack at the surface of the lake. Ding Wenru was right. Yin Qingqing had always been lucky. Perhaps she had another stroke of good fortune. Therefore, the few of them stared at the lake nervously, hoping for a miracle to happen. He Xinjiu, who was in the lake, activated the water repellent bead. She happily lay in the water to absorb the heavenly lightning, humming comfortably. This fellow discovered that being struck in the water was much better than being struck on the ground. The surface of the water could reduce a portion of the power of the lightning, and it would not be so dirty. It was simply a holy land struck by lightning. Moreover, some of the unlucky fish and prawns were directly cooked, and there was even food to eat. Although this fellow wished that he could roar a few times to anger Wu Yun, he was afraid that he would be exposed, so he could only secretly laugh. Wu Yun in the sky was trembling with anger, because when he saw the stinky girl below the surface of the water, not only was she completely fine, she was even eating the boiled prawns. It was indeed intolerable for Wu Yun. This damn stinky girl had really gone too far with Yun. She had to be struck to death today. However, even though it had almost used up all the power of lightning, it was still unable to strike He Xinjiu to death. On the contrary, it had struck many unlucky fish and shrimp to death. After He Xinjiu had eaten her fill, it had all benefited De Hua. Wu Yun had no way of dealing with Yun Chujiu. He simply vented his anger on President Gu and the others, and used the remaining power of lightning to strike them. Although President Gu and the others were covered in dust and dirt, it wasn't a big deal, but Ding Wenru was unlucky. Her cultivation was much lower than President Gu and the others. Although she tried her best to dodge, she was still struck by the heavenly lightning and fainted. Fortunately, President Gu and the others came in time to protect her, or else she would have been burned to ashes. After Wu Yun vented his anger, he flew away in a fluster. Damn girl, this matter isn't over. Well, see. Chapter 60-19 was saving people even in their dreams. President Gu and the others first saved Ding Wenru, then looked at the surface of the lake. At this time it was already dawn, and the thunder lasted for a whole night. Although they still had a trace of hope in their hearts, they felt that Yan Qingqing was most likely dead. On the surface of the lake, there was only a gentle breeze that stirred up the sparkling waves. There was no movement at all. Director Zhao's eyes were red as he said, "I'll go down and take a look. If I live, I want to see the person. If I die, I want to see the corpse." Director Sun stopped him and said, "You have the gold spirit root and I have the water spirit root. It's better for me to go down and take a look." Just as the two of them were arguing, Director Ren pointed to the distance and said, "Look. The one lying on the back of that sawtooth lake dolphin seems to be Martial Uncle Yen." Everyone looked in the direction he pointed and saw a huge sawtooth lake dolphin swimming towards them. There was a person lying on its back, and from the looks of it, the figure was indeed very similar to Yan Qingqing. Everyone immediately became excited and wanted to go into the water to save her. However, they were afraid that they would anger the sawtooth lake dolphin, so they could only watch nervously as the sawtooth lake dolphin gradually approached the lakeside. A few feet away from the lakeside, the sawtooth lake dolphin suddenly exerted force, and the little girl on its back was thrown to the lakeside. President Gu and the others quickly caught her and looked closely. It was the martial Uncle Yen that they had been longing for. However, Yan Qingqing was now in a terrible situation. Her head had become bald, and her eyebrows had been chopped off. The clothes on her body seemed to be newly put on. Even so, fresh blood continued to seep out, and her face was as pale as snow. If it weren't for the fact that she was still breathing slightly, she would really be no different from a dead person. President Gu and the others hurriedly stuffed all kinds of high-quality pills into her mouth. The eyes of the few old men were all red. Martial Uncle Yen was doing this to save them. If it weren't for Martial Uncle Yen sacrificing himself for others and drawing the heavenly lightning onto himself, they would have been struck to death long ago. They were so heartless in the past. They didn't expect that not only did Martial Uncle Yen not hold a grudge against them, he even risked his life to save them. It really made them feel ashamed. After a long while, He Xinjiu opened her eyes and said with difficulty, You are also dead? No, I couldn't save you. UMS. President Gu and the others were stunned at first, then they were so moved that they almost howled. Director Zhao said with 2 lines of tears, "Martial Uncle Yen, don't worry. We are all fine. You are not dead. We are still alive." Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. "It's good that you're alive." After saying that, he choked and fainted again. Before He Xinjiu fainted, she caught a glimpse of Ding Wenru, who was unconscious, and her heart skipped a beat. However, seeing that she seemed to be fine, she held back her question. President Gu and the others were both touched and anxious. In the end, they had no choice but to carry He Xinjiu and Ding Wenru back to the upper house. After another round of busy work, they finally heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that their lives were safe. However, how did Yan Qingqing keep her life? How did she end up being carried back by the Sawtooth Lake dolphin? The few of them could not figure out anything at the moment. They could only wait for Yan Qingqing to wake up before asking her. No matter what, it was good that she was fine. While the few of them were conversing in low voices, they heard He Xinjiu shouting from the bed, "Run! Uncle Master, I'm here to save you. Wang Banyan, come and chop me." At first, everyone thought that she had woken up, but later they realized that she was talking in her sleep. They were so touched that tears streamed down their faces. Uncle Master Yen had saved them even in their dreams. Their previous actions were worse than pigs and dogs. They had let Uncle Master Yen down. Chapter 60-20. It was so hard to be a bad person after a while. He Xinjiu finally sobered up. President Gu and the others immediately greeted her warmly and almost dug out their hearts. It was rare that He Xinjiu's conscience was aching, so she said, "You don't have to feel guilty. In fact, I saved you for my own selfish reasons." "Uncle Yen, you don't have to say it. We all know that you said it on purpose so that we wouldn't feel guilty." "Yes, Uncle Master Yen. We all know your painstaking efforts. You don't have to say anything. Just recuperate. Uncle Master Yen, don't we know what kind of person you are? Try this meat porridge. I cooked it for you myself. Hey Shinjio, why did no one believe her when she told the truth? It was so hard to be a bad person. Hey Shinjio had no choice but to drink a bowl of meat porridge filled with true feelings. Then she asked, why is Sister Ding still unconscious? What happened to her? She was struck by lightning a few times, but it's not a big deal. She'll probably wake up soon, President Gu said. Yun Chujio finally put down her worries and sighed. It's all my fault for not being able to protect all of you. Marshal Uncle Yen, your words have made us ashamed. If it weren't for you sacrificing yourself, none of us would have survived. Yes, Marshal Uncle Yen, you are our benefactor. We will remember it. Oh right, Marshal Uncle Yen, how did you resist the heavenly lightning? Why did that sawtooth dolphin carry you back? Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. She looked around and seemed to have something to say. President Gu's heart moved. He asked someone to close the door before asking, Uncle Master Yen, what happened? In the past, he was unwilling to call Yun Chujio Uncle Master Yen for the sake of his face. Now he was willing to call her Uncle Master Yen. I was afraid of being struck to death by the heavenly lightning, so I swam straight to the bottom of the water. Fortunately, I had a few waterproof beads on me, so I wasn't afraid of the water. I saw a stone cave at the bottom of the lake and a voice came out from it. It said it was some kind of Tao Tai and asked me to save it. It promised me a lot of good things. President Gu and the others' faces immediately changed. They all knew that there was a Tao Tai at the bottom of the lake. However, it had been locked up for so long, and this was the first time that someone had heard its voice. It was probably because the seal had been loosened recently, that was why it was able to transmit its voice. What happened after that? Did you agree to it? President Gu asked nervously. Yun Chujio shook her head. I heard that the Tao Tai was an ancient ferocious beast and was a scourge. Of course I was. However, I felt that I could divert the heavenly lightning and calamity to the east. Therefore I stayed there without moving. The heavenly lightning indeed struck the stone cave. That was how I managed to keep my little life. President Gu and the others finally understood. No wonder Marshal Uncle Yen could save his life. It turned out that the heavenly lightning struck the seal of Tao Tai. What's the matter with that sawtooth dolphin? Director Zhao asked curiously. Then I don't know. I guess God sent it to save me. Yun Chujio said blankly. In fact, the matter was like this. Hei Shinjio was cooking fish and prawns with water to feed De Hua. The unlucky sawtooth dolphin was also knocked out by the heavenly lightning and was almost swallowed alive by De Hua. Hei Shinjio felt that if she wanted to become the vice dean, she needed to take in a few underlings in Misty Lake. Therefore, she left the sawtooth dolphin alive and established a temporary contract with it. Chapter 60:21 Poor little cabbage. President Gu and the others could not guess the reason for her blank expression. They could only attribute it to her good luck. However, when President Gu thought about how the heavenly lightning had struck Tao Tai for such a long time, he felt a little uneasy. He said a few words to Yun Chujio perfunctorily and hurriedly left with Director Zhao and the others. When Yun Chujio saw that they had all left, she got off the bed to check on Ding Wenru's condition. This fellow felt a little guilty. Ding Wenru was completely implicated by her. After she checked Ding Wenru's pulse, she heaved a sigh of relief. It was just as President Gu had said. There wasn't much of a problem. She would probably be fine after a good sleep. On the other side, President Gu and the others checked the seal of Tao Tai through the array formation. They only heaved a sigh of relief when they didn't find anything unusual. Then the question came. Why did the heavenly lightning strike them? And why did they look so bitter and vengeful? What did they do wrong? They felt that they had not done anything immoral. The few of them were both confused and terrified. If the heavenly lightning was targeting them, how could they survive? President Gu immediately sent a message to Chu Feng and Zhuang Mu, but it did not succeed. They did not know where the two old men had gone. For the next 2 days, President Gu and the others could not sit still, afraid that another heavenly lightning would strike. Hei Shinjio was almost better, but Ding Wenru had not woken up, but there was nothing unusual. Hei Shinjio was anxious and guilty. Fortunately, Ding Wenru finally woke up on the 3rd day. Sister Ding, you finally woke up? You scared me to death. It's all my fault for implicating you this time. I'm sorry? Before Hei Shinjio could finish her sentence, Ding Wenru interrupted her. Qingqing, do we still need to talk about such formalities between us? If it weren't for you, I would have died countless times. Moreover, it seems that I've gotten a blessing in disguise. Yun Chujio immediately widened her eyes. What do you mean? Ding Wenru said excitedly. When Master Zhuang taught me how to refine weapons, he once sighed and said that although I have a fire spiritual root, the purity of my spiritual root is not high. I'm afraid that I won't be able to go far in the future. However, after I was struck by lightning this time, my fire spiritual root has actually become much purer. Moreover, there are faint signs of a breakthrough. Yun Chujiu, this was the real daughter of Tian Dao. Just as this fellow was lamenting, Ding Wenru sat up and began to cross-legged meditate. She was really going to break through. He Xingjiu could only stand guard at the door to protect Ding Wenru. This fellow felt that he was as pitiful as a cabbage in the ground. She was putting on an act and trying to trick her. It was not easy for her to absorb some heavenly lightning and break through to the fourth layer of the spirit summoning realm. Ding Wenru was struck by the lightning and she was able to purify her spirit root and break through. It was truly infuriating. Could it be that she had committed too many sins in her past life and that was why she was being abused so inhumanely in this life? De Hua sensed her thoughts and raised 4 pig trotters to express his agreement. This was karma. It couldn't care less about the other victims, but it had been ruined by this wretched girl in her previous life. Not only had she been single for more than 10,000 years, but she had also given up her freedom and body. The sins that she had committed were uncountable. Of course, this fellow was only thinking about it secretly. He didn't dare to let He Xingjiu know. After all, he still had to rely on her to support him. He Xingjiu saw that Ding Wenru was about to break through. She pondered for a moment and gave up on the idea of pretending to have an epiphany. Every time she was struck by lightning, she would have an epiphany and level up. It was really a little suspicious. It would not be too late to look for an opportunity to break through in the future. Chapter 6022 Uncle Master Yan's request. An hour later, Ding Wenru's body shimmered as she successfully advanced. However, she continued to meditate. It was obvious that she was going to advance continuously. Although He Xingjiu felt a little sour, she was genuinely happy for Ding Wenru. She hoped that the people around her who were on good terms with her would become better and better. Ding Wenru had suffered a lot following her. Not to mention other things, just the abuse, contempt, and isolation were things that ordinary people could not accept. This was also one of the reasons why Gu Liani and Qin Linglong gave up on coming to the upper house. Moreover, Ding Wenru had helped her cover up a lot. Without Ding Wenru's cooperation, she would not be able to complete many things smoothly. President Gu and the others also rushed over when they heard the commotion. When they saw Ding Wenru's condition, they also felt sour in their hearts. They were also struck by lightning. Why did Ding Wenru break through one after another, but they were struck in vain? However, when they saw He Xingjiu's miserable state, the sour feeling in their hearts instantly disappeared. Martial Uncle Yen was even more miserable than them. Ding Wenru's luck was really good. No wonder she was accepted by the 2 grand elders. She was indeed outstanding. Ding Wenru's breakthrough this time lasted for several hours, and only stopped after she broke through to the second layer of the divine summoning. President Gu and the others exchanged a few sour pleasantries before asking Yun Chujiu, Martial Uncle Yin, we originally wanted to contact the 2 grand elders, but we couldn't get in touch. What do you think of the heavenly lightning this time? We couldn't figure out the reason for the heavenly lightning. Yun Chujiu touched her chin. Could it be that it came for the seal of Tao Tai? Did it miss? President Gu and the others shook their heads repeatedly. The heavenly lightning would not randomly strike the wrong place. If it missed, why would it chase after them? Yun Chujiu looked at them meaningfully. If it's not for this reason, could it be that you have done something wicked and unethical? President Gu and the others shook their heads like a rattle drum. Although they had some thoughts, they had never done anything wicked. Forget it. If you can't guess, don't guess. It's not a big deal anyway. If there's a heavenly lightning strike next time, it'll help you resist it. Anyway, I seem to be able to resist it, Yun Chujiu said casually. President Gu and the others finally realized what was going on. That's right. This Yen Qingqing had a fire spirit root, and her cultivation was not high. Although she had been struck quite badly, she seemed to be able. What was going on? Yun Chujiu seemed to have seen through their doubts and explained, the reason is very simple. I have a treasure that my master gave me for self-defense. Only then did everyone come to a sudden realization. They had just said that how could Yen Qingqing be able to withstand more strikes than them? So it turned out that she had relied on the treasure that the 2 elders had given her. Martial Uncle Yen, this time I really want to thank you for standing up for me. If you have any requests, feel free to mention them. As long as I can do it, I will definitely do it, Director Zhao said sincerely. Yes, Martial Uncle Yen, you must not stand on ceremony. Our lives were saved by you. I will agree to whatever conditions you propose, Director's son echoed. The other chancellors also echoed him, eager to dig out their hearts. Yun Chujio frowned and pondered for a moment, then sighed, I am not greedy, nor am I greedy. The corners of President Gu and the others' mouths twitched. Don't you feel guilty for saying that? Yun Chujio continued, and I am not greedy. I really don't have any requests. However, when I think of what happened at the banquet these 2 days, I feel that you are all red in the face because of the vice president. I am really worried that it will destroy the stability and unity of the academy. Therefore, leave the hot potato of the vice dean to me. Chapter 60-23. Worse than pigs and dogs. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, President Gu and the others were stunned. They didn't know what she meant. Uncle Master Yen, do you want to say that you will decide who will be the vice president? President Gu probed. Hei Xinjiu rolled her eyes in her heart, but she showed a helpless expression on her face. I mean that I will be the vice president. I don't want to be the vice dean, but I've thought about it again and again. No matter which of the 6 martial nephews will be the vice dean, the other 5 will feel unbalanced. If they feel unbalanced, they will inevitably feel resentful, which will affect their stability and unity. However, the position of vice dean cannot be left vacant all the time. After a long time, the minds of the vice-chancellors and the others below you might be active. They must be settled as soon as possible. As your martial uncle, I will naturally help you solve your problems. Therefore, I will reluctantly assume the position of vice principal. President Gu and the others immediately widened their eyes and gaped. What? She wanted to be the vice principal? What kind of joke was this? How could a student like her become the vice principal? President Gu frowned. Martial Uncle Yen, your suggestion is inappropriate. You are still a student, how can you assume the position of vice principal? That's right, Martial Uncle Yen. Although you have good intentions, this matter isn't very appropriate, Headmaster Ren echoed. The others also echoed. They couldn't help but wonder in their hearts. Martial Uncle Yen had worked so hard to save them previously. Could it be that he was fighting for the vice principal position? If that was the case, he really didn't care about his own life. To think that they were so moved. It turned out that there was profit to be made. Sigh. You guys really let me down. I know what you guys are thinking. Do you think that I saved you all just for this vice principal? A sparrow knows the ambition of a swan. You guys can't even compare to a sparrow. You're just a bunch of moths. What status do I have? I'm the personal disciple of 2 supreme elders. Do I need the support of a position like the vice principal? If I wanted to extort favors in return, I would have just asked you to give me something good. Why would I need a vice dean who is famous but has no power? Unfortunately, my painstaking efforts were misunderstood by you to this extent. Forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it. Forget it, forget it, forget it. I will let you break your heads over this lousy position. Even if you beg me, I will not be this lousy vice dean anymore. I'll be whoever I want to be. Get out of here, don't be an eyesore here. Yun Chujio's face was filled with dissap. Her eyes were red as she turned around, leaving only the back of her head for President Gu and the others. Ding Wenru knew that it was time for her to make her appearance, so she angrily said, You guys have gone too far. Qingcheng's good intentions have been treated like a donkey's liver and lungs by you guys. If Qingcheng wanted to be the vice dean, she could have just begged our master directly. Why would she have to sacrifice her own life in exchange for it? Taking 10,000 steps back, wasn't she afraid that the vice dean would be struck to death by the heavenly lightning without being treated as such? How stupid would she have to be to do this? You guys should leave. Our primal institution doesn't welcome you guys, so don't come here again in the future. President Gu and the others thought about it and agreed. Yan Qingqing didn't know that there was a Tao Tai seal at the bottom of the lake, so how could it be a plan? It seemed that they had judged a gentleman with their petty hearts. When they saw the back of Yun Chujio's bald head and her slightly trembling body, their hearts were filled with guilt and self-blame. They were simply not human. They actually used their dirty hearts to think about Martial Uncle Yan's painstaking efforts. They were truly worse than pigs and dogs. Chapter 60-24 agreed to become the vice principal. President Gu and the others looked at each other. President Gu said embarrassedly, Martial Uncle Yan, we were wrong. We should understand your painstaking efforts. Director Zhao's face was full of shame. Martial Uncle Yan, we have wronged you. You should be the vice principal. The others also echoed and agreed to let Yun Chujio be the vice principal. Yun Chujio turned around. Her eyes were as red as a rabbit's, but her tone was very cold. How can I be the vice president? Just treat it as if I was talking in my sleep. You guys can go, I need to rest. Uncle Master Yen, we misunderstood you before. You should be the vice president. President Gu said hurriedly. Yun Chujio shook her head. I, Yen Qingqing, have always been above board. I was wrong in thinking before so that I wouldn't be exposed. I won't be the vice president no matter what. You guys can leave now. President Gu and the others wanted to persuade her again, but they saw Yun Chujio's body tremble and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Ding Wenru hurriedly went forward to support her. Her eyes were red as she roared, "Get out! All of you get out! Qingqing has put in so much effort for you, but she has raised a bunch of ingrates like you." Ding Wenru helped Yun Chujio into the inner room and then kicked President Gu and the others out. Bang! The gate of the primeval institution was closed. Ding Wenru lowered her voice and asked He Xinjiu, "Qingqing, why didn't you agree just now? Don't you want to be the vice president anymore?" He Xinjiu said indistinctly while nibbling on the spirit fruit, "Don't worry. They will definitely come and beg me to be the vice president. I still have to continue taking Qiao. Only in this way will they believe that I'm the vice president for their own good." Although Ding Wenru didn't believe it, she thought of Yun Chujio's great achievements and didn't ask any more questions. On the other side, President Gu and the others who had been kicked out all blushed and felt ashamed. Director Zhao and the others were filled with regret. How could they have wronged Marshal Uncle Yen in a moment of confusion? If she had really planned it out, why would she reject their proposal so resolutely? If she had known earlier, she would have agreed to it directly. At least she would be much better as the vice president than the others. President Gu was also very regretful. It was much better for Yen Qingqing to be the vice principal than the other 6. Why didn't he react earlier? When they thought about how Marshal Uncle Yen was angered to the point that he vomited blood, they felt both guilty and afraid. If the 2 grand elders were to return, wouldn't they be skinned? After a discussion, the current plan was to think of a way to get Marshal Uncle Yen to accept the position of vice principal. Marshal Uncle Yen was the most soft-hearted. After a few more attempts of persuasion, she would be able to calm down and accept it. Therefore, for the next 2 days, President Gu and the others came to persuade her once a day. They were only a step away from kneeling down and begging He Xinjiu to accept the position of vice president. He Xinjiu still refused them sternly, looking as if her heart had been broken. It was not until the 3rd day, when President Gu and the others came to persuade her again, that she sighed, "I am the most soft-hearted person. I have already made up my mind not to be the vice president, but since you are so sincere, in order not to make things difficult for you, I will agree to it. However, let's be honest. You begged me to be the vice principal. I didn't force you to do it. Don't go back on your words in the future." "Of course. Marshal Uncle Yen, don't worry. We all know that we were wrong. We won't misunderstand you in the future," Director Zhao said with a confident look. The others also expressed their views. At this moment, in their hearts, Marshal Uncle Yen was a fair and kind girl. Whatever she said was right. Chapter 60-25 The death of Xiao Lianxiao. The next morning, an explosive news swept across the entire 10 Directions Academy. Did you see the announcement? That Yen Qingqing from the Primeval Branch has actually become the vice president of the academy. This vice president is not only the vice president of the upper academy, but also the vice president of the entire academy. This is simply nonsense. That Yen Qingqing is still a freshman. How did she become the vice president? You don't know this, right? That Yen Qingqing is the disciple of the 2 supreme elders. Her seniority is 1 generation higher than President Gus. It's probably the help of the 2 supreme elders. She really got lucky. Shit luck. She actually clung onto these 2 thick legs. In the future, she can do whatever she wants in the academy. When Xiao Lianxiao and Zhen Zhuyu heard the news, they almost died from anger. They felt that this must be a rumor. This is simply impossible. How did that trash become the vice president of the academy? She must have used some unspeakable means to trick him. Zhen Zhuyu smashed the things in the dormitory into pieces. Then she took out a voice transmission talisman and sent a message to someone. Her face was full of ruthlessness. Xiao Lianxiao immediately went to see Vice Director Xiao. "Second uncle, what's going on? How did that Yen Qingqing become the vice president?" Vice Director Xiao sighed. "Time and fate. Lianxiao, you can't beat her. Don't provoke her in the future." The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug said these words from the bottom of its heart. It wasn't that it was kind, but it felt that Xiao Lianxiao was too stupid, so stupid that it couldn't bear to look at her. Xiao Lianxiao wasn't willing to listen. She gritted her teeth and said, "No, I can't let that trash be so proud. I want to send a message to grandfather and ask him to find a way to vent my anger. I want to cut that slut into a million pieces to vent my anger and let her die a horrible death." The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor saw her stubbornness and thought, originally, it wanted to find an excuse to secretly turn into a bug egg. Now that this Xiao Lianxiao wanted to die, then it would send her on her way. Thus he sighed. "Lianxiao, don't send a message first. In a few days it will be a rest day. I'll think of a way to bring you back with me. There are some things that are better said in person." Naturally, Xiao Lianxiao couldn't ask for more. She immediately agreed and left. The 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug, on the other hand, explained the matter to Yun Chujio through spiritual sense. Yun Chujio was now the vice president, so there was no need for Vice President Xiao. After hearing the 1,000-year-old corpse turtle emperor bug's plan, she pondered for a moment and said, "Think of a way to frame Jian Zhuyu and then find a place to hide. When the time comes, I'll use my identity as the vice president of the 10 Directions Academy to investigate the case and bring you back." After hearing Yun Chujio's plan, the 1,000-year corpse turtle emperor bug could not help but curse in its heart. It thought that it was bad enough, but it did not expect this pervert to be even worse than it was. The 1,000-year corpse turtle emperor bug did as Yun Chujio said and thought of a way to provoke Xiao Lianxiao. Sure enough, Xiao Lianxiao and Jian Zhuyu had a big fight. Although they did not fight, the commotion was not small. 2 days later, Director Xiaofu and Xiao Lianxiao left the Academy of 10 Directions. Although students were not allowed to leave the academy except for the trial, Director Xiaofu naturally had special privileges. No one had any objections to bringing Xiao Lianxiao home. However, no one expected that a few days later, the news of Director Xiaofu and Xiao Lianqiu's deaths would spread. It turned out that 3 days ago, the Xiao family received a distress call from Director Xiaofu. They said that they were besieged by the Jian family and then lost contact. When the Xiao family rushed to the scene of the accident, even their bodies were not found. Later, using the special methods of the Xiao family, they found the storage rings of the 2 demon beasts. Chapter 60:26 The Xiao family's Jian family dispute. This matter could be said to have shocked half of the Divine Enlightenment continent. After all, the Xiao family and the Jian family were both large families, and each of them had quite a bit of influence in the Myriad City Alliance and the Iron Blood Alliance. Therefore, President Gu personally went to the location of the incident, and He Xinjiu, the newly appointed vice president, also eagerly followed him. In addition, several major forces also sent people over. If it weren't for everyone stopping him, Patriarch Xiao would have immediately gone after Patriarch Jian. What he loved the most was his granddaughter, Xiao Lianxiao, and his second son, Vice Director Xiaofu. He didn't expect that they would all be killed by the Jian family. How could he not be angry? Patriarch Jian was also very troubled. Although the Jian family and the Xiao family weren't on good terms, they really didn't do this. Family head Xiao, how could our Jian family kill Deputy Director Zaifa's uncle and nephew for no reason? There must be someone else who killed them. Family head Jian explained. Family head Xiao's eyes were red. Before my son died, he clearly asked us for help. He was ambushed by your Jian family. Even if you explain yourself, it's useless. Moreover, I heard that 2 days before they set off, Lianxiao and your Jian family's Jian Zhuyu had an argument. It must be because of this matter that your Jian family harbored a grudge, so they killed my son and Lianxiao. Today you either hand over Jian Zhuyu and pay with your life, or wait to be exterminated. As the suspected behind-the-scenes murderer, Jian Zhuyu naturally came. She immediately said with an aggrieved face, "Senior Xiao, although I had an argument with Sister Lianxiao, it was just a small quarrel. Moreover, our 2 families have always stayed out of each other's way. Even if I was muddle-headed, my grandfather wouldn't do such a muddle-headed thing. You are currently in a fit of anger. When you calm down, you will realize that something is amiss. If our Jian family were to make a move, how could we leave such a huge flaw? This is clearly someone framing our Jian family." Jian Ziyu's words were reasonable, but family head Xiao was about to go crazy from anger. How could he listen to her words? He immediately said angrily, "You ruthless bitch. You still have the audacity to quibble even now. We found out that a group of Jian family guards left the Jian family just 2 days ago, heading in this direction. You should know that your Jian family's sphere of influence is not here. Why did you send people here? What explanation do you have?" Jian Ziyu's expression immediately changed. She had mobilized those guards to find an opportunity to deal with Yan Qingqing, but could she tell the truth? If she told the truth, she would not be able to stay in the 10 Directions Academy. No matter how scheming she usually was, she did not know how to explain herself at this time. Seeing her like this, the Xiao family head was even more certain that she was involved in this matter. He directly slapped Jian Zhuyu with his palm. The Jian family head naturally would not sit idly by. He immediately received the slap from the Xiao family head. Seeing that the two of them were about to fight, the representatives of the other forces tried to mediate. The Xiao family head's eyes were red as he roared, "Everyone, I believe that everyone already knows what is right and wrong. Today I will say this. If the Jian family doesn't give our Xiao family justice, this matter will not end." The Jian family head didn't show any weakness. "Xiao, this matter has nothing to do with our Jian family. Don't slander us." Seeing that the two of them were about to fight again, the crowd had no choice but to separate them to prevent them from fighting again. President Gu could not help but feel a headache. Both the dead and the suspected targets were from the 10 Directions Academy. If it was not resolved properly, the Xiao family would inevitably vent their anger on the 10 Directions Academy. What should he do? Chapter 6027 Diversion of Trouble. He Xingjiu secretly sent a voice transmission talisman to President Gu while everyone's attention was on Patriarch Xiao and Patriarch Jian. Just as President Gu was frowning, he noticed that the voice transmission talisman was trembling. He used his spiritual sense to scan it and found that it was sent by Yan Qingqing. He couldn't help but feel puzzled, but he still sent his spiritual sense in. After finding out what was inside, his eyes immediately lit up. He said to Patriarch Xiao and Patriarch Jian, "Both of you calm down first. As the president of the 10 Directions Academy, I am very sad that such a tragic incident has happened. But the most important thing now is to find out the truth of the matter. I know that because of the sound transmission talisman and the abnormal mobilization of the Jian family's guards, the Jian family will inevitably become the biggest suspect. However, have you two ever thought that you represent not only your own families, but also the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Massacre Alliance? Once you two become enemies, the repercussions will be too great. If this matter was intentionally set up, wouldn't your two families become their chess pieces? Therefore, don't rush to come to a conclusion. It won't be too late to investigate after the matter has been thoroughly investigated." As soon as President Gu said this, the atmosphere at the scene froze and some people became excited. The Xiao family and the Jian family represented the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Alliance. If the two sides fought, who would benefit? Although the 10 Directional Academy and the Divine Enlightenment Academy were also two major forces, their interests did not intersect with the alliance of 10,000 cities and the Iron Blood Alliance. The 10,000 Buddhist Sacred Hall had a superior status and would not meddle in these mundane matters. Then there was only one suspect left, and that was the Divine Devil Hall. Because of the division of interests, the Divine Devil Hall, the 10,000 Cities Alliance, and the Iron Blood Alliance had many small conflicts, but they did not expand. If the Divine Devil Hall was the one who did this, then wouldn't they be taking advantage of the situation? The Divine Devil Hall also sent a purple-masked man over. When he saw the subtle looks in everyone's eyes, he immediately had an ominous premonition. He had originally come to watch the show. Why did this fire burn onto their Divine Devil Hall? However, he couldn't say anything. After all, if he took the initiative to explain, wouldn't it be the same as saying that there was no silver in this place? He immediately hated President Gu who had spoken, but he didn't dare to do anything to him. Moreover, even if there was no such thing, the 6 major factions were still at odds with each other. President Gu could not help but feel admiration in his heart when he saw everyone's reaction. Martial Uncle Yen was indeed powerful. In just a few words, he had resolved the situation in front of him and had even drawn the fire onto the Divine Devil Hall. As the saying goes, if a fellow Taoist dies, the poor Taoist will not die. In any case, the Divine Devil Hall was not a good thing. Letting them take the blame was a good choice. Moreover, this matter might really have been done by them. Patriarch Jian glanced at the purple-masked man from the Divine Devil Hall, then cupped his fists towards Patriarch Xiao. "Patriarch Xiao, what President Gu said is not without reason. We must not be treated as fools by others. I can swear in public that if this matter was done by my Jian family, I will be cut into 1,000 pieces and not have a good ending." Patriarch Xiao had also calmed down at this time. After hearing what Patriarch Jian said, he thought about it again and realized that there was indeed something fishy about this matter. He said with a cold face, "No matter what, your Jian family is the biggest suspect in this matter. I will give you 1 month. If you can prove your innocence, then it's fine. Otherwise, this matter will not be over. Although Patriarch Jian was very angry, he could only nod and agree. He also did not like Jian Zhuyu. If she had not found trouble to quarrel with Xiao Lianxiao and sent guards, their Jin family would not have been splashed with dirty water. Chapter 60:28 Wu Zhao's eldest nephew Jian Zhuyu felt her grandfather's disgusted gaze. She was both afraid and hateful. She hated the dead Xiao Lianxiao and hated the mastermind behind the scenes. She also hated Yan Qingqing. She felt that if Yan Qingqing had not provoked her, she would not have sent guards. Therefore Yan Qingqing could not escape the blame. There were people like this in this world. They would always blame others for the cause. Moreover, they even felt that they were very innocent and very reasonable. Since the matter had come to an end temporarily, there was no need for everyone to stay here. However, Master Wu Zhao of the 10,000 Buddhist temple frowned. He kept twirling the Buddha beads in his hand. Amitabha. This penniless monk feels that the corpse aura here is a bit heavy. It's similar to the corpse aura in the bloodthirsty insect valley. He Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. Did the old monk discover the eggs of the little grasshopper? The grasshopper's eggs were hidden deep underground. How could he have discovered them? He Xinjiao hurriedly asked the grasshopper to restrain its aura so that it would not lose its life. Master Wuzhou's words did not resonate with the others. After all, only Master Wu Ben cultivated Buddhist energy. The others did not notice anything unusual at all. Master Wu Zhao, these 2 storage rings must have been contaminated with corpse qi. That's right. Someone died here, so naturally there's corpse qi. Master Wu Zhao frowned again. Could it be that he had sensed wrongly? That's right. This was just a dense forest. If there was anything abnormal, it would have attracted attention long ago. When he tried to sense again, he found that there was nothing abnormal. Perhaps the corpse qi he sensed just now was really the corpse qi left on the storage ring. Amitabha. Maybe this penniless monk sensed wrongly. I'm sorry. The crowd did not mind it. After a few polite words, they left the place one after another. He Xinjiao was afraid that the little grasshopper would be discovered by Master Wu Ben, so she told the little grasshopper to wait patiently until she found an opportunity to come and pick it up. The little grasshopper said aggrievedly, "Then you have to hurry up. I haven't absorbed corpse qi for a long time. I'm starving to death." He Xinjiao was so angry that she ate and ate. Other people raised helpers, but she raised a group of foodies. Who did she look like? Yun Chujiao originally planned to look for an opportunity to come back and dig up the little grasshopper after Master Wu Zhao left. She didn't expect that Master Wu Zhao didn't leave even after everyone else had left. He put his palms together and said to President Gu, "President Gu, I heard that there is a pond of smoke and cloud powder in the 10 Directions Academy. I'd like to take a look. Is it convenient for me?" He Xinjia's heart skipped a beat. It was not convenient at all. However, she was saddened to hear President Gu say happily, "I'd love to. You're most welcome." He Xinjiao cursed in her heart. This old monk was really shameless. Couldn't he just stay in his 10,000 Buddha sacred palace? Why was he wandering around? If he had been following her, how could she go back to pick up the little grasshopper? Sensing her thoughts, the little grasshopper cried, "Master, you can't leave me alone. I'm just an egg now. Anyone can eat me. Please come and save me." He Xinjiao rolled her eyes and finally thought of an idea. "Nephew Wu Zhao, I heard that the 10,000 Buddha Sacred Hall is very interesting. Can you tell me about the interesting things in the 10,000 Buddha Sacred Hall?" He Xinjiao said with a smile. Master Wu Zhao staggered and almost threw out the Buddha bead in his hand. Master Wu Zhao and the others had long noticed the little girl behind President Gu and guessed her identity. However, no one revealed her identity and no one greeted her. The reason was very simple. This guy's seniority was too high. No one wanted to be shorter than her, so they pretended not to see her. Who would have thought that this guy actually didn't know what was good for him and took the initiative to strike up a conversation? He even called him Wu Zhao's nephew. Chapter 60:29, Cultivation isn't good enough. Master Wu Zhao didn't know whether to agree or not. He could only look at President Gu, hoping that he could help him out. President Gu understood what he meant, but he didn't mean to help. "Are you kidding me? I already called you martial uncle, what else do you have?" Seeing that President Gu had no intention of helping him out, Master Wu Zhao held the Buddhist bead silently and pretended that he didn't hear He Xinjia's words. He thought that Yun Chujiao would be tactful enough to keep quiet if he did that. Unexpectedly, He Xinjiao jumped in front of him and said, Wu Zhao, didn't you hear what I said? Tell me about the fun things in the 10,000 Buddhist temple. Master Wu Zhao felt that his cultivation was not high enough. Otherwise, why would he want to kill the little girl in front of him? Ba. Guilty, guilty. Master Wu Zhao felt that the little girl would still be chattering if he did not speak. Therefore, he pressed his palms together and said, Ba. The 10,000 Buddhist temple is a place of worship. There is nothing interesting, that benefactor Yen said. Master Wu Zhao felt that he was too smart. He had actually thought of the title benefactor Yen and solved the problem of the title skillfully. While he was secretly proud of himself, he heard He Xingjiu ask, Nephew Wu Zhao, according to what you said, isn't life in the temple of 10,000 Buddhas very boring? Master Wu Zhao echoed subconsciously, yes, it is indeed very boring. He Xingjiu clicked her tongue and sighed. Nephew Wu Zhao, I don't mean to criticize you as an elder, but your cultivation is still not high enough. You are a monk. How can you say that paying respects to Buddha is boring? You are blaspheming Buddha and slandering those who practice Buddhism. Master Wu Zhao, who was he? Where was he? What was he doing? How could he be labeled as such in his confusion? That's not what I meant. Then what do you mean? Didn't you say that paying respects to Buddha is boring? Am I slandering you? Nephew Wu Zhao, I don't think you should go to the academy to see the smoke cloud powder lotus. You'd better go back to the 10,000 Buddhist sacred hall and repent in front of Buddha. Master Wu Zhao was confused by He Xingjiu. He didn't know how to explain it. He didn't think so. How did it become like this in the mouth of this little girl? He Xingjiu looked at Master Wu Zhao's dumbfounded face and felt proud. You can't die of anger. Hurry up and get lost. I don't want to delay catching the little grasshopper. Just as He Xingjiu was feeling proud, she saw Master Wu Zhao put his palms together and said with an enlightened look on his face, Almsgiver, your words make sense. It seems that this penniless monk has misjudged you. Although the 10,000 Buddhist sacred hall has strict laws, there are still some interesting things. He'll tell almsgiver Yen about them on the way. He Xingjiu, he didn't leave in anger? Wasn't this old monk's temper too good? This fellow didn't dare to go too far. Although he had two masters to protect him, the 10,000 Buddhist sacred hall wasn't someone to be trifled with. Yun Chujiu was burning with anxiety. If this old monk didn't get lost, how was she going to receive the little grasshopper? She thought for a long time and finally came up with an idea. With a sorrowful expression, she said to President Gu, President, Vice President Xiao's sudden misfortune is truly sorrowful. Why don't we pay our respects on the spot? It won't be a waste of our time together. He Xingjiu usually addressed President Gu as president in front of outsiders. It could be considered as giving him face. Upon hearing this, President Gu agreed without much hesitation. Although Vice President Xiao hadn't been very good in the past, his recent performance had been pretty good. He hadn't expected that he would die right after turning over a new leaf. What a pity. Chapter 60:30 looked silly. President Gu thought that He Xingjiu only said a few words with a bow. Who would have thought that this guy would actually take out paper candles and other things, and even put up a small mound like he was serious? He Xingjiu sighed. Although martial nephew Xiao and I are not on good terms, I am an elder after all. I sincerely hope for his well-being. I didn't expect martial nephew Xiao to die at such a young age. It really makes me sad. As he spoke, his eyes reddened and he looked very sad. President Gu could not help but sigh in his heart. In the past, Vice-Chancellor Xiao had often made things difficult for senior marshal Uncle Yen because of Xiao Lianxiao, but she had let bygones be bygones. She was really too kind. While he was sighing, he heard He Xingjiu mutter to herself, It's just a pity that I didn't have the time to ask the monk to help him cross over. It's really a pity. When the guy said that, his eyes fell on Master Wu Zhao. Master Wu Zhao immediately had a bad feeling. Before he could think about it, He Xingjiu said sincerely, Master Wu Zhao, I'm sorry that I didn't ask for your help. Nephew Wu Zhao, you have nothing better to do. Why don't you help Junior Xiao cross over? Master Wu Zhao felt that he was about to break his precepts. He really wanted to scold someone? It was true that he was a Buddhist cultivator, but with his status, was he going to let someone cross over casually? Moreover, the Xiao family would definitely organize a funeral. What was this little girl doing here? Master Wu Zhao was just about to find an excuse to reject when he heard that little girl say, Sigh, forget it. I reckon that the Xiao family will invite someone to cross over. It's better not to trouble you, nephew Wu Zhao. Well, since you are not going to help junior nephew Xiao, you can wait for us over there. Master Wu Zhao could not wait to be further away from the place and walked away immediately. Hei Shinjio felt that the distance was not far enough, but she could not say it out loud. Therefore she began to howl. My junior nephew Xiao, why did you leave just like that? How are we going to live now? My junior nephew Xiao, you left so miserably. You didn't even leave your corpse intact. How can I bear it? My junior nephew Xiao, take your time on the road to the netherworld. Be careful not to fall. Otherwise you will be reincarnated as a pig in your next life. The corner of President Gus' mouth was twitching nonstop. He could not stand it any longer. Junior Uncle Yen, is that okay? Hei Shinjio wiped her tears carelessly. What's fine about it? I still need to talk to junior nephew Xiao for a while. Take the others and wait by the side. My junior nephew. What a joke. If he continued to listen he might laugh out loud. That would be awkward. Seeing that President Gu had come over, Master Wu Zhao walked further away tacitly. Master Wu Zhao looked at the crying Hei Shinjio and asked President Gu tentatively, this new disciple of the two grand elders of the Ten Directions Academy is really special. President Gus' face stiffened and he said dryly, although Senior Uncle Yen is a bit out of character, she is very kind. I heard that she became the vice president of your academy? Isn't she still a student? How did she become the vice president? Master Wu Zhao asked curiously. Although Uncle Master Yen is still a student, he has a good view of the big picture. That's why we chose her to be the vice president, President Gu said vaguely. Seeing that Master Wu Zhao didn't want to say more, Master Wu Zhao didn't ask further. However, he thought that President Gu was quite smart in the past. Why did he look silly now? Chapter 60:31 did not believe a single word. Hei Shinjio caught a glimpse of President Gu and Master Wu Zhao from the corner of her eye. Using the cover of her sleeve, she put the little grasshopper egg that had rolled up with great difficulty into the spirit beast bag. Although this thing should be called a worm egg, it looked no different from an ordinary spirit beast egg. However, the eggshell was black like a coal ball. Hei Shinjio did not have the time to look carefully at the grasshopper egg. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Master Wu Zhao did not have any reaction from the corner of her eye. The guy howled a few more times, burned a few pieces of paper and stood up. The guy walked to President Gu and the others with red and swollen eyes. President Gu was about to comfort her, but she said, President Gu, I'm sorry for your loss. I believe that junior nephew Xiao doesn't want us to be too sad. If we break down because of our sadness, junior nephew Xiao will feel uneasy. Therefore we have to keep our spirits up. The dead have passed and life still has to go on. We still have to move on. President Gu, seeing this, Master Wu Zhao thought that this little girl was quite capable. She had been howling so miserably just a moment ago, but now it seemed that nothing had happened. With the spiritual beast bag isolating them, Hei Shinjio was not afraid that Master Wu Zhao would discover the corpse chi leaked out from the little grasshopper egg. Thus, it was much easier for her to walk. Everyone left the no-fly zone and returned to the Ten Directions Academy by flying spiritual device. Hei Shinjio ate a few spiritual fruits to replenish her strength. Then her gaze fell on Master Wu Zhao, who was talking to President Gu. This fellow rolled his eyes a few times and felt that it was not a bad thing for Master Wu Zhao to go to the Ten Directions Academy. She was worried that she could not get along with the 10,000 Buddha's sacred hall, but this old monk came to her own door. It was really a good time. Master Wu Zhao could not help but shiver. Why did he feel that the little girl looked at him like a hungry wolf looking at meat? Master Wu Zhao, this is your first time to visit our Ten Directions Academy, right? When we arrive at the academy, I will personally act as your guide. I guarantee that this trip will not be in vain, Hei Shinjio said with a smile like a wolf with a big tail. Master Wu Zhao's heart skipped a beat. This little girl had called him Nephew Wu Zhao before. Why did she call him Master Wu Zhao now? Could it be that she was holding back some bad water? Master Wu Zhao did not believe a single word that President Gu said about a kind and good girl, because he had finally sorted out the previous. He had only said that there was nothing interesting in the 10,000 Buddha sacred hall, but this little girl had labeled him as a blasphemer of Buddha. How could he be a kind person? Thank you for your kind intentions, almsgiver Yen, but this penniless monk only wants to study the Buddhist theories beside the misty cloud pink lotus. I won't trouble you, almsgiver Yen. Hei Shinjio blinked her eyes. It seemed that the old monk had become wary of her. It was all because of that damn little grasshopper. At this moment, the little grasshopper's sobbing voice came from her spiritual perception. Master, help. I'm going to die from egg breakage. Hei Shinjio sent her spiritual perception into the spirit beast bag and saw that Buttface and the others were playing with a ball. Yes, the little grasshopper egg was that ball. Buttface and the others had long disliked the little grasshopper, but it had been possessing Director Xyphus' body, so they had no way to teach it a lesson. Now that they finally had a chance, they naturally wouldn't let it go. The little grasshopper cried out shrilly, "Master, help, help. If I keep kicking, I'll give birth prematurely." Hey Shinjio. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.